his own money, or that he's not very intelligent, that he really
hold on, Kitty. This isn't supposed to be a roast of John Kitty. It's of Brad Stauffenberg.
I've heard so many stupid things that people have said about you that I know without a doubt there's come straight to the horse's mouth and ask you to your face if this is the truth. And so if Brad says that stupid stuff about you, unless it's like harmful to you or your family, then you're only harming your own. If you want to make it through litigation, then litigation. You're only hurting your own lawsuit, and you're definitely only hurting your own character by playing into his stupidity. Let him be Brad. Brad acts like a dickhead sometimes. Really pissed me off when you're on I think
I'm gonna restart this live.
Veterans Day or something like that, because he was belligerent. But I knew he was belligerently drunk, and I've been like that on Clubhouse too. All I'm saying is that let him take the L by being the asshole. Okay, you don't have to sit there and take it to a place where it's going to distract people.
Kitty, this is the great thing about Kitty. When
what you're doing politically, and that's where I want to put my focus and interest on.
You know, politically speaking, this ties into my campaign. He will be the first lawsuit against somebody that slanders, libels, and defames me. He's the first. So you'll have to listen to the actual evidence and the 2 days of slander and libel against me, as well as the death threats against Jane and many other young women on this app. So until you actually hear and profanity and sociopathic death threats defaming me, say, hold your opinions until you actually hear the videos.
Fair. That's fair. And then Brad, if you listen to this replay, if that's really where you go, especially you can say what you want to say to John, but to a woman, I mean, I don't ever bring up, and I think it's sad and it's horrible about his wife. I would never bring up that, especially her as a woman, and then to put her down and to criticize her and wish harm on her. The fact that you would do that, Brad, if you listen to this, it's not just an injustice of your personal character, but it shows like a weakness and everything that is good that you do stand up for. So don't. Just stop. I don't care what the reasoning was, where John broke the edge, because I know that he can be a smart ass sometimes. Just don't.
I guess I'm stirring the pot. You know what? Lord might be right. I guess I am kind of stirring the pot with this, but nonetheless, I'm a little upset. So, maybe this is just me doing what everybody else does on this stupid app, which is emotional processing.
I wish Lord was about me doing God's work right now by taking you down from you were at 11. Or more of 7.5 right now. They're still scaring me just a little bit. I'm just kidding.
Okay, we're going to invite Lord back up to continue the roast of John Kitover. Go ahead, Lord.
I'm in my 20s. It's like, you tell me you're running for Congress. Nothing about the way that you move or the things that I'm hearing coming out of your mouth sound presidential, you know what I'm saying? Sound.
It's not about running for president, dude.
Respectfully,
bro. I'm not running for president, bro. Respectfully, I'm running for Congress, bro.
Respectfully, you sound like a bitch. And it's like somebody that I want to run for Congress is somebody that I want to be a solid fucking man, a solid grown man. I don't doesn't go around Clubhouse talking like a little bitch. You know what I'm saying? An adult.
No. Before John gets to go. Now you've awoken the dragon.
Dragon's dragging me and telling me some weird shit.
John, don't let me have this one. So hey, Lord, you've made it very, very evident before you ever even had to give your age, exactly what mental fortitude that you're using in order to use these fancy words about someone that you obviously probably, I don't even know how long you've been on Clubhouse, or if you know how to navigate to tie your own shoes each day. But listen. I would rather trust someone that says grab him by the pussy than I would someone like Joe Biden. And if that's not diplomatic enough for you, if that doesn't work for you, Lord, someone who has to literally talk about overcompensating, someone who has to call himself Lord. I mean, like I would hold more stock and more masculinity in someone that could actually call themselves by a name than something like Lord. It's like, really, what are you trying to do here? Grow the fuck up. Tell your mom you're sorry for whatever it was that you did last week. You want to come home and that your little prodigal son.
Nobody
Yeah,
can respect that.
yes, but the thing is that they respect you even less. By what you're saying, they respect you far less.
I never will ever push for anybody like this to be a leader. Because you're a bitch.
So
You come off as
what jurisdiction? Well, first of all, what state do you live in? I don't even care what affiliation you are, right or left, blue or red. Yeah, of course, he's a bit. I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry. I didn't stop myself. But he was calling you the B word, John, and I don't think that you're a bitch. But he did kind of talk like.
Well, see, Kitty, this is where projection comes into play. Where if somebody casts vulgar dispersions against you, generally that shows their lack of self-confidence. Because if your claim is that I'm a bitch and I have no self-confidence, but you're coming here at 1 a.m. to tell me that I'm a bitch and have no self-confidence, is it really me or is it you? So that's the thing about projection, where especially when you cast dispersions on somebody, is it really worth your time to cast a dispersion on somebody and slander them? It's a you problem. So maybe that has something to do with Brad Stauffenberger as well. Maybe we've learned something here this evening.
And the room I was just in too. I mean, honestly, that's key lesson for me, and I wouldn't have came in here so red hot. I think so, for sure. And if that little bitch happens to understand, if you listen to the replays on this, we don't care about your vote, but for everybody else that wants to help, all proceeds to, well, the link will be somewhere where you can find. I don't have it on hand.
And thank you for your campaign contribution, Kitty. It will not go to waste. I promise to you that I'm going to do a lot of the heavy lifting myself. And if you were here, I would take you up to Rockford and Peoria with me, and we would get the signatures to get on that March primary.
I'm working on getting up there, and if I can donate more, I will. And I definitely will.
Oh, don't worry about the money.
If not, I'll get my family here because they will definitely be 100% backing you. And I don't know anybody on Clubhouse that considers themselves to have the same mindset and philosophy politically like you do. And yeah, Brad's one of them. A lot of things that you talk about, he talks about too.
I know. There's a lot of things I agree with him on, but
he's so pissed off.
There's a lot of things I don't. I can just play for you. Go to Pepe's room that he just had, and you can hear what Brad's political positions are. He talks a lot of shit. He thinks he's hot shit and he knows everything. It's unbelievable. The guy is in no position of power, but yet he's got opinions on every senator and congressperson who's ruling the country. Meanwhile, he's a fucking claims manager at a children's hospital. He denies little kids their health insurance. Or he's going to the health insurance companies and fighting for the children. I'm sure there's a lot of good things about Brad, but you know what? It doesn't matter if there's 99 good things and one bad thing. I would consider the one bad thing that he has done against me is drag me for 2 days and slander me and not even have a conversation. Just vociferously word vomit out slander and defamation for 2 days straight and make death threats against women. What kind of a man makes death threats against women all day long on the social audio? Somebody with a fucking probably brain clot. So, it's not a health problem. It's a personality problem. Maybe it's a traumatic brain injury from the war. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want to go there. Maybe it's PTSD from losing the strongest woman in his life. My phone is dying. John, take care of you. All right, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like to bring up their children or their deceased spouses, but that'll only take you so far in terms of sympathy with the campaign to elect candidate Congressman John Kitover. It won't work on my ears because when you make death threats, either against me or against women that I know, and you defame me and slander me for 2 days straight, sorry, your management has got to know what you're doing. You're not going to get away with it when you attack me. It's just not going to happen. So, Mr. Tough Guy, I hope you like the unemployment line, because you know what? You probably won't get unemployment when you get terminated for the crimes you're committing, the laws that you're breaking, the fact that you're not working, that you're here on Clown House talking all day long, Brad. If you try to drag down somebody, they might grab you and drag you down with them. So be careful, what you say, Brad. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to leave this room open and I hope you all have a good night. This is Texas Children's Hospital notified about Brad Stauffenberg.
I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast now is not thy husband, and that thou saidest truly. And the woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet.
Cohabitation. In other words, she's saying, how do you know this? How do you know this about me? How do you know that I've had all of these things all of
It was a campaign like Canada Congressman Kitover. I just want to say Clubhouse is incredibly pathetic. After having made many, many recordings of Clubhouse as well as X Spaces and having exclusive content versus actual intelligence versus people who are just wasting their time doing gossip and drama and stirring pots, it's such a huge fucking waste of time. It's unbelievable. So if you kick me from your pathetic little room and you think you're actually doing anything on this app, believe me, you're not doing anything. You're wasting your time. That's the only message I have for you. So I'm waiting for Mojo's return so we can kick this campaign back off here on Clubhouse, because otherwise it's a total waste of time. There's some pathetic ass people here who are wasting their time doing nothing. Just wanted to let it out, let everybody know my thoughts. How pathetic.
As well as it was when you first got here. That's not the attitude. And if this is going to be reduced to an economic zone, then the Republic cannot endure, right? I mean, through history we've seen. When we get to America came from those same people. America got wealthy and powerful because of the slave population that they had with them. And these slaves had created many over 5.
Man, you give your ancestors too much credit, line, because it's called the industrial age. It's mass manufacturing and automation of mechanization. I want to roll here. Getting kicked from every room.
They did, which I thought. But I think if he would have changed it, he would have called us. No, he wouldn't. He would say he know what the hell.
Hey, good evening, my fellow Americans. I'd like to make a request that you donate to the campaign to elect candidate Congressman John Kitover. I will put the link in the chat. I know Uncle Ruckus is good for $10 because Uncle Ruckus and I, we go way back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was there when he escaped the monkey house known as Talking Apes and liberated himself from a group of idiots. Morons, you might call them. Stupid people, idiots. Uncle Ruckus freed himself from living with morons on this app, but I see he's exchanged.
Good job. I'm not fucking doing that shit. I don't come in during the day.
I'm just saying that Uncle Ruckus lost one group of morons and apparently found another group of idiots.
Oh, so as a man, I'm asking y'all because I don't have a weenie. Is that satisfying just to be able to just like fuck it, just pay for pussy for the rest of your life, or?
Well, that shit, I mean, tricky. Yeah, I mean, tricky. I mean, different men have different meanings of trick. So you'd have to Because you got some stupid niggas, you take a woman to dinner. How you drinking? So, you know, you really have to see like what he means.
I thought it was for power trip purposes. Like I could buy you if I wanted to.
I mean, different men, like, there's different men have different meanings of it. You know, it's a man over there, like if he's in Africa, drinking and the dollar goes far, the nigga might just be buying drinks and food, right? You in America, I mean, it's just, every man's different. So I don't, you know, you'd have to really ask him. You know, some niggas might be fly, you know. I don't know. But we've been hearing all this manosphere talk all day, really for the last 5 days. So my question is this, at the top, is the manosphere, is it anti-black women, or is it about men's empowerment? I hear different things, right? I hear that it's about brothers getting together and trying to become better, talking about finance and fitness and being good husbands and good fathers. And then I hear some of the rhetoric, which, to be honest, is a little bit negative, right? So, and I'll be honest with you, if you ask me what I think that whatever good can be done gets overshadowed by the negativity, right? So to me, whatever good is being done, I think that it's a little bit
They've upset a few people.
self-destructive, because it's hard for you to, if the goal is to do well and the goal is to make a profitable community and to be positive and to mentor young men and old men, I think the negativity will get in the way, if that makes any sense. But that's my opinion. But to the title, is it, you know, is it about, you know, is it about anti-black women? Are we against women? Or are we about just the upliftment of men? I'd like us to talk about it. Tell me how y'all feel. Everybody's opinion is welcome. Mamiya, if you'd like to come on stage, we'd love to have you. I'm sure you have some comments on this, so you're welcome to come up.
Well, I was always taught that a nation could never exceed its weakest link, and this was kind of like a, you know, why talking point. You will always be judged by the state of your women as a nation, no matter what. Especially if you are to be the leaders of that nation. So you can't have one without the other. You have to work in tandem. And so I just don't see.
Well, thankfully, I'm not a
Yeah.
I got about an hour.
I wasn't saying you were. Okay, yeah. I was just speaking on those were some of the teachings that I was taught. Like you never exceed. Like even as a parent, you are only as good of a parent as you are of the children you bear as fruit. So like that kind of concept.
Well, that's nice to know. Yeah, I'm good for about an hour to Strange New Worlds comes on.
Okay, so I guess you're one of the leaders of the manosphere. So is it about anti-black women, or is it about black male empowerment?
As always, the devil's in the details, isn't it, John? I would say that it's definitely black male empowerment, no question about that. But with regard to being anti-black women, I would say it's critique of black American women. I would say it's a critique. And I think the critique is long overdue. And I think when we look at the evidence, you can see it. So, you know, look, black women have critiqued black men for decades. Black men have taken it on the chin. Sometimes I don't even disagree with it. But you know, the ladies are going to have to get used to the fact that, you know, it's our turn. And we're not going back, as your standard bearer last year said. We're not going back. And you just have to get used to it. You're going to have to get used to brothers expressing themselves and reflecting on whether or not what they say has a real truth to it. Putting on your big girl panties and getting on with the business of upping your game.
It doesn't seem like that. You got to get used to it because all those manosphere dudes are dying. One of them got ball cancer. Kevin Samuel died. They're not even surviving. So ain't nobody about to get used to it. No one's listening to that. No one is. And with me, I don't give a fuck if you gonna put some old ass video. Everybody know how I look. I never ducked it. I never lied about anything about who I am and where I'm from and what I do. But I got you, homeboy. Unlike you, I'm not no broke bitch, and I guarantee you, I got you. Okay, so you ain't gotta worry about that. So don't sit up there and fucking be posting no old ass video, lying, saying, "Oh, this is I that's who I am. I don't give a fuck." Like that was such a long fucking time ago, and your woman was fat, and she fucking lost the weight just like the fuck I did. So you need to shut the fuck up. Cause you the one who was talking shit about big women, and you had a big woman, and you was the one talking about baby mamas, and your woman was a baby mama. That's fucking crazy. All the shit. You the liar, and then you're the liar. You're the liar talking about you guys were at the Four Seasons. That's where y'all all stayed, and Shannon just said y'all was at the MC because the Four Seasons was too expensive. No. Okay, here's a few rooms at the Four Seasons. But you act like all the conclave members were all balling and staying at the Four Seasons. You be just lying so much.
I didn't say that.
Yes, the hell you did. Everybody heard that.
I said that. I said I stayed there. And with regard to my lady friend, I know you want to talk about her a lot. No surgery. Didn't need to go under the knife. She did it the old-fashioned way.
But what was you doing? Okay, and I'm proud, and I'm happy that she did that. What were you doing? What were you doing? Don't worry about how. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how I did it, as long as it got done. It don't matter how. It doesn't matter how I did it, as long as it got done. But the fact that you sit up there, no, because you sit up there.
Vulgar dispersions against you. Generally, that shows their lack of self-confidence. Because if your claim is that I'm
okay, this is Texas Children's Hospital.
You're coming here at 1 in the morning to tell me that I'm a bitch and have self-confidence. Is it really me or is it you? So that's the thing about projection, where especially when you cast dispersion on somebody. Is it really worth your time to cast a dispersion on somebody?
Fat Pappy makes your Pappy
slander them. It's a you problem.
So fucked up.
Maybe that has something to do with Brad's
Congressman
Kitover. Maybe we've learned something.
I was just
slandered me. So I have no choice but to notify his management team at Texas Children's Hospital. Brad Stauffenberger, who makes regular death threats on the set, management team has been notified. I'd expect Friday will probably be your last day working at the hospital, Brad. Hope you have a good time on the employment roster. I'm sure you'll get, actually you won't get unemployment because this termination was for conduct. So
and thank you for your campaign contribution, kid. It will not go to
Houston,
waste.
Texas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, wherever you
do a lot of
live.
the heavy lifting myself.
Good luck.
And if you were here, I would
should
send
have
you to ride for
campaigned to elect candidate Congressman John
get
Kitover.
signatures to get on that march.
Fucked it up. You know, we are our own worst enemy.
If I can donate more, I will.
Unfortunately.
Definitely will.
But don't worry about the money.
I'll give her family.
I'm not gonna let you get away with threatening to kill my friend Jane or Bima or Monica. You know, gentlemen, you're just a crude, paganistic Viking. And Friday, you'll probably be an unemployed, crude, paganistic Viking. As I said earlier, good luck. God bless. If you come across this room, anybody, be sure to retweet. Click that link above and retweet so the hospital knows for sure that they see it. I'm going to let this room stay open all night so people can retweet and enjoy. Oh, look, it's Lord. Hey, Lord. Click the link above.
Somebody casts vulgar dispersions against you, generally that shows their lack of self-confidence. Because if your claim is that I'm a bitch, I have no self-confidence, but you're coming here at 1 a.m. to tell me that I'm a bitch and have no self-confidence, is it really me or is it you? So that's the thing about projection, where especially when you cast dispersions on somebody, is it really worth it? It's just, it's a you. So maybe it has something to do with it. So maybe it's something. Hey y'all, I ain't black but I'm narcissistic. Can I be a part of the Black Narcissist Party?
So we. Are you a narcissist? How are you a narcissist?
I'm filing a lawsuit against the clubhouse user who slandered me for the past 2 days. Does that make me a narcissist?
How are you going to do that when you don't even know who they really are?
Oh, I know who they are. I got the LinkedIn and everything. I know the hospital they work at. They're fucked.
Wow.
Yeah, let me put it on my PTR. You can take a look at this asshole because he's a narcissist son of a bitch. Let me show you his face. His ugly fucking face. Look at this
I might know.
ugly motherfucker. Ugly motherfucker.
Is he really white? I don't know. He might be white.
He's ugly. He's an Irish beer drinking, shepherd's pie eating.
Oh, he look like he ain't about shit though. He on Clubhouse?
Oh yeah, his name's Brad
He ain't on Clubhouse.
Oh, he all around. He comes up here. He makes death threats to women on the app all the time.
Oh, where I be at? Mango, where these people be at on Clubhouse? That part. Is there like another? You know what? Now there's multiple sides. Oh, wait, Shai. I'm convinced that Clubhouse is everything now. It might be. Because I barely ever stumble. I was like, where do people go? I don't never see a rooms on there. Yeah, they used to have a lot of rooms before. They did. I used to be in a little cool visitor. Me too. Or I'll be on the stage. They had a stage of that was what is it called? When you're impromptu comedy, it's a name for it. I don't know why I just went out about it. It's in that little Love and Light room. Yeah, and now all they have is a lot of these rooms that you're just listening to, like some video. Yeah. Those are a lot of the rooms that I see now. They even used to have a real estate looking like that. Yup, they did.
We're back. We're back.
Oh, hey, Serendipity, click the link above. I decided to notify Brad's management team at the Texas Children's Hospital in Houston that he comes out here, makes death threats, and libels and slanders me. So be sure to retweet. Thanks, Serendipity. And if you talk to Brad, make sure you let him know I've notified his management at the Texas Children's Hospital.
Very quick and easy.
Admittedly, the legislation that Rokana and I
buying protection for Palestine, right? He's not buying.
Good point. He's going to get some ROI on his money he's going to.
Yeah. So again, like he invested in all these district attorneys for the last several years all around the United States. He owns all these district attorneys, and where there's all this chaos going on around the United States, and he's been doing a lot of things in Europe and all around the world with his Open Society Foundation. I just want people to think: when have you ever known George Soros to not make money on his investments or not get something in return for for his activism, especially when he's putting tens of millions of dollars into it continuously for several years? What's he buying? He's not buying, Palestinian solidarity or a state for Palestine, right? He's buying the deflection of blame away from Jews. He's buying protection of Jewish.
It really is at times, because Soros is so demonized, rightfully so, but a lot of people, especially the naive people, a lot of people don't realize he's even a Jew. They just default to Soros, rightfully so, but then it's on your own Schwartz. He changed his name too. Did he really? Of course. They absolutely, of course, he changed his name. Do you really believe his story that when he was 12 or 13 years old, God was relied on him, little 12, 13-year-old, to point out whose wealth they should strip? People actually buy into that bullshit story. Yeah, just like the whole Trump the lies they tell him. Yeah, because he was so smart, or his dad was so smart, they were able to change up his identity and get him an ID saying he was Christian. That's why they entrusted him, and they needed his intelligence to figure out who's who in the concentration camp, so they can seal that person's walk. And he still repeats that bold-faced lie to this day. So it's just incredible to me that a gaslighter like Soros has done nothing but cause havoc and currency destruction and destroy economies by betting against various currencies like the pound, of course. Currencies in Thailand and Cambodia to destroy those economies. And he's proud of it. He's proud of the fact that he's reinvested his wealth into NAACP or BLM and all these divisive movements just so they can create race wars. And then sit there and laugh, and then also hire instigators to go and infiltrate these college campus rallies and turn them into riots. So the cops that's how they organize them. Yep. Absolutely. He destroys them. He gets the guys in place. Can you remind everybody who our Treasury Secretary is? The lovely guy, Mr. Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent. Yeah, Scott Bessent. He was his prodigy. One of them. He's got many. Yep, worked for him for 40 years. I think he still does. Helped crash the homosexual too, I believe, right? Yeah, I think he's a Jew. I thought I was 100% correct on that. Not 100% correct. I think he's a Jew. I know he's a homosexual. He's a homosexual. I'm not sure if he's a Jew. He's probably not a Peter Thiel. Yes, exactly. He's another Peter Thiel. So he's a Jew in spirit who's a homosexual that adopted 2 kids like Dave Rubin through surrogacy. And he helped Soros crash the pound in 1992. As, again, like I said all the time, the dollar has lost 97% of its buying value. And like we were talking about with Sam earlier, as Jews say, our future lies with the rising east. And China's got all these new bridges, these new transportation systems, everything. As Americans, there's drug addicts all over the street. And I just want people to be consistent. It's like they hate when Soros people are in Biden's administration, rightfully so. But when Trump has the guy that's in charge of our fucking monetary system, and being a Soros guy, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. Never mind the fact that, again, he has specialties in crashing dollars and pounds and all that, as we're on the way to probably crashing the dollar. But I digress for now.
I just want to reiterate, because I get a massive knowledge stuff. It's very twisty, turny, and involved. I just want people to understand this. There is a movement that opposes Israel that's called anti-Zionism. Right? If you're an intelligence agency, if you're a government, if you're the government of Israel, if you're the intelligence agencies over Israel, and there's this worldwide movement that's against you, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to manage that? Well, obviously, they're going to engage in subversion, infiltration, the best way to defeat the opposition is to lead it ourselves, right? This is classic intelligence operation. So you have to think, you have to use your brain and understand that, okay, there's an anti-Zionist movement that opposes Israel. That means Israel is going to try to get control of that opposition and lead it themselves so that it can't amount to anything. Of course, that's what they're going to do, right? Of course, that's what they're going to do. You have to understand that. You have to be able to see that. And it turns out that, that entire anti-Zionist space, and you got people like Miko Khaled, whose dad was a general in the IDF, hero of the 6-Day War.
and so just we have to get sophisticated here and understand that of course they're going to try to contain these things. Of course they're going to try to get control of them, right? So that they won't amount to anything. They're going to try and steer them. Well, how are you going to do that? Right? How are you going to do that? Well, it turns out there's 6 major anti-Zionist organizations in the world, and 4 of them are funded by Jews. So, it's like, hello, the McFly, and and by the way, they use all the anti-Zionist rhetoric that the Soviet intelligence used during the Cold War, and the KGB, that was being run by Jews on the Committee for Anti-Zionism, right? So you had anti-Zionist Jews in the Soviet Union leading the anti-Zionist movement, and now you have this curiously, this Jewish-led anti-Zionist movement that is blaming everybody but Jews for Israel, right? So put the pieces together, people. You've got to see these pieces and see how they fit together.
QAnon and the White Hats are going to save us, just like Operation Trust and Bolsheviks and the White Army is going to save us.
There you go.
Everybody sit back and relax. You're all good to go.
Yes.
Control Hillary's in Guantanamo.
And by the way, this goes back to 1920 and Winston Churchill's famous op-ed, Zionism versus Bolshevism, struggle for the soul of the Jewish people. These 2 factions of Jews have been duking it out over whose vision for worldwide Jewry is better, the Zionists or the Bolsheviks, the left-wingers versus the right-wingers, right? And they've been duking it out for decades, right? And so but Zionism is mostly one. You still have this small, sincere faction of, probably rank and file Jewry who does believe in anti-Zionism, and they absolutely do want a 2-state solution, and a lot of them is because they fear for their family and their Jewish family and brethren in Israel. They want peace, so that their brethren in Israel are no longer in danger, right? That's part of it too. My point is that these movements have been shanghaied, they've been subverted, they're being controlled, money's being funneled, NGOs are involved, the ADL's involved, strategic paid influencers and bot operations are involved, and they've taken control of it. And it's just a very, very small group of Jews doing it. But the returns are massive because you have billions of people in the world that are, every day you get on Twitter or on some other social media platforms and you hear about how Israel's a bunch of settler colonialism from Europe. And these Israeli Islamo-fascist Nazis and these Zio-Nazis, and Netanyahu's like Hitler.
Oh my God, I hate to check
this. Is all.
That's the nigger one.
Yeah, and if you blame Jews, then they'll attack you. They'll attack you for being anti-Semitic. And it's not all Jews, And so they're getting wild ROI on this anti-Zionist operation.
They'll sacrifice their own, like October 7th. The end of festival.
Yeah, who cares? What's a few broken eggs, right? Big deal. They do this, right? They're ruthless, even to their own, for the greater cause. So my point is, people, you have to see that you have to know that intelligence agencies and governments are going to try to control the opposition against them. How are they going to do that? I'm explaining to you how they're going to do it, and I'm showing you that Soviet intelligence did it already. Jews and Soviet intelligence already did it. So they literally just they moved their shop from the Soviet Union over to Israel after the fall of the Soviet Union, brought it on over, and business as usual, just kept it going, right? And it's very useful because it blames white people and Christians and Europeans for all the problems instead of Judaism and Jewish supremacy. And it splits the anti-Zionist left from uniting with the anti-Semitic right. Now, if you can imagine what would happen if the left and the right come together against worldwide organized Jewish supremacy. But we can't, because we're fighting with each other. One side's anti-white, one side's anti-Muslim, one side's anti-Israel, one side's anti-Semitic. It's they can't come together, right? Claudia, they wanted us to vote for Sheinbaum, but Jill Stein, the anti-Zionist Jill Stein. Well, what did she want to do? She wanted to amnesty all the tens of millions of illegals in the United States and establish more immigration courts and bring in more immigrants and just continue this flood of demographic transformation into the United States. This is what anti-Zionists do. They show me an anti-Zionist Jew and I'll show you a Jew who's anti-white and wants to flood country with multiculturalism, right? Show me a Zionist Jew and they want to constantly take the United States to war. And anyway, so
that's definitely what they do.
We just can't come together because, like Sean King, he's done this great work exposing this pedophile in Vegas, right? But Sean King is this lefty shit-lib anti-white anti-whiteism, right? Anti-capitalism, all these types of things. And so they're like these shit-lip lefties. I'm saying that just, quote unquote. And it's just really distasteful to people on the right, the anti-Semite nationalists on the right. They don't want to have anything to do with those people because, they're anti-white, they're anti-American, and they're communists. Why are they communists? Because for decades, the Soviet Union was like seeding these groups and these movements with communism. Right? That's what they were doing. So we're still reaping the fruits of like decades of, global Soviet intelligence operations. And if international juries of Vector that they worked through while the Soviet Union existed, they were working through international jury. Soviet Union goes away, guess what? International jury still exists, right?
I can't tell you how many people I saw the other day, including that faggot cock Drogo who's still buying the QAnon fucking psyop somehow and pushing it, although he's got to be paid to do it like Liz Broken, but he was saying, you guys really gonna try to absolve Trump of any blame for that prosecutor? Tom Alexandrovich was released just because through the local DA and had nothing to do with Trump's intervention acting on behalf of Israel. I mean, that's just not far obvious. They'll never hold Trump accountable for his clear guilt involved in allowing for this Jewish pedophile to escape justice. And it's not even the first time. This has happened routinely. Just real quick before I forget, we had a subversive in here earlier. He was trying to chase after you, thinking that you were trying to get him canceled. I didn't know anything about him. You were tied up at the time. We dropped him anyway. He's likely listening in the tunnels. I think you know who he is. His name starts Andrew. I think you know who he is. Andrew Meyer.
I've never heard of her. I don't know who you're talking about. Never heard of her.
So let's not presume the gender. Okay, well, you never heard of him, and he's probably got you mistaken with someone else. But he came up gunning for you.
But don't taste me, bro.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one there.
I don't know who you're talking about. I didn't hear anything about that. I don't even know who it is.
See no evil. Okay, well, let's clarify. I'm sure the tunnel ads will be relieved now because they're scared that they might get their accounts canceled because that's going to happen to you, right? Yeah, for sure. All right, well, Sam, we have an aspiring Congressman John here. Maybe you can get some tips from how to manage without taking the APAC money. He's trying to make it to Congress. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm not taking APAC money, unlike Darren LaHood. I mean, if APAC called and said, hey, here's $50,000 like they do to Darren LaHood every year, I mean, you know what? Maybe I would take that money to run attack ads against Darren LaHood. But speaking of Andrew Meyer, don't tase me, bro. I know Andrew Meyer from Clubhouse, where I made a lot of recordings of Andrew Meyer talking about 9/11 and how it was an inside job and a huge cover-up. So he reported my YouTube account and got my YouTube account clipped. Andrew Meyer. So anyways, but yes, I am running for Congress here in the state of Illinois in the 16th district against Darren LaHood. And I'm waging war against all kinds of dragons that just appear out of nowhere and attack you all day long, try to defame you, slander you, libel you. It's unbelievable. The pieces of shit in this world who call themselves Trump MAGA or Republicans, they basically, people have a lot of personal problems, and I think a lot of people project them onto you as you talk to them in social audio spaces. So I think that's probably one of the issues that goes on in the social audio ecosystem, is that there's a lot of projection and very little actual information. Nobody reads books. Nobody does grok queries. Everybody is literally just like on the warpath to project and attack. That's what I have observed over the past 48 hours.
Yeah, John, I'm not sure if you heard Diligent Space earlier at Congressman Massey on, and he mentioned that he's demanded for the Epstein files to be released. He had a personal conversation with Pam Bondi himself. He said something will get released. There was a news release that something might get disclosed. Who knows? They'll likely be redacted anyway. What are your thoughts on the Epstein files?
Yeah, I heard the whole Thomas Massey interview with Diligent Citizen today. I recorded it, created all kinds of clips on YouTube. He says September 3rd is when they're back into Congress. And I think he said end of September, mid-September, they're going to have their press conference on the front steps of Congress. But he said he's also going to do a drop. Some juicy gossip, which is going to cause a major problem. Some type of poison pill that he says he's going to drop. So, I just, the fact I just think all this stuff is going to get redacted and you'll never see it because I guarantee you that Jeffrey Epstein was playing both sides of the fence. He was doing espionage, first of all, for himself, for his own personal power and his own personal blackmailing and financial arrangements. And then B and C, he was probably, or even D, he was probably doing intelligence gathering and payoffs with not just Israel, but also the UK and Prince Andrew, etc. So Epstein was the man in terms of carrying out international espionage, blackmail, manipulation on behalf of a lot of people and also himself. The guy was worth $800 million.
Real quick, John, 1 second. What in the glitch is going on? True. Do you see how many people are in the space? It says 2,780 for me. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, we're getting spotted.
Talking now.
I mean, that's what happens when you rely on an Israeli company check to deal with bots. You know, they'll attack a space they don't like. So,
What the fuck? What the?
welcome to the Jewish bot attack.
What does that do? Doesn't that put you to the
4,000 now, yeah. Damn bots.
It's fine. Don't let it bother you. It'll pass. Comes and goes.
I mean,
Sorry, John.
I would
That was
go.
wild.
I would go as far as to say that Epstein may have even been involved with who was the owner of the Twin Towers?
Larry Silverstein.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I would be. Well, I don't know what the connection is there, or if he has any. But if Epstein is that high up, and he had
Well, Lutnick, Epstein, and of course, what's his name? Larry Silverstein all knew not to go to the towers that day.
well, what
And you're aware that Epstein's neighbor was Howard Lutnick. They live right next door to each other in New York. And we know Lutnick knew not to go to work that day, even though 658 of his employees did. They got wiped out. And because he had to take his kid to kindergarten, supposedly. And Silverstein, he had to go to a dermatology appointment. Epstein likely wasn't around at the time. Well, he was busy doing his human trafficking or whatever it is he was up to that day. So, yeah, there's absolutely a connection there. And plus, they were both bankrolled by Les Wexner, in addition to Mike Jeffries. I'm not sure if you've read about my thread on him. Are you aware he's being prosecuted for human trafficking as well through his connection he was the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, which is owned by L Brands, that's, of course, Lex Wessner controls. He's also Jewish, by the way.
he's a
And I
freak.
never knew Epstein lived next to, or Lutnick lived next to Epstein for 23 to 24
Right
years.
next to
Wow.
from 98 till
Wild.
and his home was gifted to him, by the way, for $10 and considerable offering. And then he took out a loan for $4 million, which he paid back in 2018. So Wexner gifted Lutnick a home. What do you think of that, John?
Sorry, Heidi, did you get up here? Heidi, when you disconnect, I'll send you a mic because she can't get up.
There are 7,600 listeners. So what kind of swarm attack would you call this on the next 9,000 listeners? There are 9,000 listeners now. This is incredible.
Hey, everybody, just go follow me. Yeah, just everybody, if those people are real, they'll go follow me.
Yeah,
If they don't
follow
me, they're
all
not
the
real.
speakers, Mr. Bot, so we don't have to pay for fake followers like everybody else.
What the hell does that do, though? Does it, like, discredit the space or something? And now Heidi can't connect.
I think if everybody leaves and joins at the same time, it kind of like gets reported and the space can get nuked or something like that.
Yeah, it can crash the space.
It's a DDoS. They're trying to DDoS the room.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
But, X is a big platform, and chances are 10,000 listeners won't crash it.
They don't like it when we start exposing their intelligence operations.
No, it's when they join at the same time or leave at the same time that it sometimes crashes.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they bought these bots. It doesn't cost very much to do it, but I think they have an allergy towards exposure of the Epstein files because they really want to move past it without any accountability. So,
But don't be
we'll keep
surprised.
talking about it.
Don't be surprised if it's probably not even Israel that's doing this. You do realize it's probably our own government that is trying to DDoS the room right now.
Or some of their Indians as well, the programmers they hire, because you realize Israel does outsource a lot of its IT services to India. That'll do their dirty work and bidding for a small price. Their labor's a lot cheaper, so it could be the
Yeah,
Indian
where do
programmers as
you
well.
think all these vaccines came from for COVID-19? I saw videos of Indian manufacturers that made tens of billions of dollars from U.S. taxpayer money to poison us with vaccines manufactured in India.
Well, I mean, but let's be honest. It was the Jewish-run Pfizer that made over $100 billion just in 2022 alone, just from the mRNA vaccine alone. of course, they've been criminally fined, but nobody's been fined for the COVID vaccine. And there was Tal Zaxxon, I believe he's Moderna as well. He was the CMO there who was also pushing the vaccine. And Danielle was also pushing it as well. So
he's got one in his office still. And I threw on the nest a Jew admitting that they
RFK that wrote a book and claimed that it increased the fertility rates for Jews while it decreased rates for whites and others, right?
Heidi's stuck on connecting. Heidi, you're stuck, so I'm going to remove you from the space real quick, and then hopefully that'll unglitch you.
Send her a mic.
She's like, do you hear it? Does it say connecting for you? It's spinning.
It does.
No,
yeah.
I already sent her a mic and I told her to reset.
Okay.
So
yeah,
DDoS
thing's fucking up. Yeah, true.
I'm gonna ask Grog.
Look at Dr. Stanley Plotkin. He's the father of vaccines. He's been in the game for over 4 decades. He's the one who made the claim that none of these vaccines have been tested for safety, and yet they're still marketed as if they are safe, even though they cause all kinds of side effects. They've only been widespread in use since the 1970s. We went from like 3 or 4 vaccines to over 70.
You know what's crazy too?
Insane.
Yeah, 72 of them. Which, like I said all the time, people that don't know and all the bots, you can hear it. If you give your children all 72 quote-unquote vaccines, because again, they're not, because they've never been tested and they're fucking not vaccines, they don't work. You're giving them 13,000 micrograms of aluminum, 600 micrograms of mercury, which is fantastic, and 200 chemicals, including baby aborted fetal cells, formaldehyde, like egg yolk or whatever, so then you get all these allergies and you're stuck in big pharmaceuticals your whole life. And then the way they juke the stats too, I found this out last week, like they did with the pandemic with the mRNA vaccine, they said you technically weren't vaccinated until 2 weeks after your second vaccine. So if you fucking just pulled the Tiffany over and died after your first quote-unquote vaccine, I call it quote-unquote because it's obviously not, especially that one's literally not, got voted in the 9th District of 9th Circuit Court in D.C. like a year and a half ago said that it's not a vaccine, it's gene therapy, aka gene editing. But if you were after your second dose of mRNA, if you died within 14 days, you were not, or had a side effect basically within 14 days, it did not count. You're not counted as vaccinated. And they do the same thing for the childhood vaccines. If you die within the I believe it's first 2 weeks, you are not considered. It's not considered a death because the number is crazy. It's like, I'll have to find it, but I don't know if I have it. It's like something like 70 to 76% of SID, sudden infant death syndrome, happens in the first 2 weeks, but they don't count it as a death because they just juke and rake the stats because they say that you're not vaccinated because they know that it's going to kill people within your children within the first 2 weeks, babies in the first 2 weeks. So that's how they rig it, and then people nobody knows better, and they're still fucking poisoning their children every day. All right, how do we try to figure out?
Thanks for that super chat. I'll read out what you wrote. Thank you for the space, the hard work every day you and Joanne put in. Since you're here a couple days a week, you keep challenge anyone who cares about the future of humanity in America. Let's go on the nest and toss Truth $5 for the spaces threads he does daily. We got to help our own. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support. And I'll keep doing it. The support's great, but I feel an obligation to expose as much truth as possible. Hopefully, till the day, while my account's still active, I'll keep at it. Appreciate your support, though. Thanks for that vote of confidence as well.
You're welcome. And everybody, go up there, put your money where the mouth is in the front of the nest. I won't go on a rant like I did the other day because I don't want to sound like fucking, I don't want to have people hitting me up saying, well, Truth Teller's putting you up to this. No, obviously he's fucking not. And whatever, it doesn't matter. People already know. But you already explained it the other day. You got to help our own, put our money where your mouth is. $5 at least. If you're not going to subscribe, go up there, toss him $5 for the amount of work that he puts in. And again, including Joanne, Tyler, and all these people that come up, especially Joanne, every single day, staying up late nights with me. Possibly after this, if I open up space with OC, hopefully, and other people and stuff. So go up there, toss $5, and let me figure out Heidi here.
Dude, I literally blocked her from the space to remove her and then let her back in, and she's still in limbo. Like, she's just stuck there. It's crazy.
I know, we brought Prashana. It must be her connection. Not sure where she is. But, okay. John, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I just thought the Thomas Massey thing today was fantastic news. It seems like he's well organized, and the fact that he's coming on X to speak about these things publicly is great news, and it's a shame that he's the only one, that you really see in Congress. Again, the guy that I'm running against, Darren LaHood, takes APAC money. He pushes the vaccine on all his constituents. He said, if you don't get vaxxed, this pandemic will never end and you'll never be able to go back to work. So that's the type of asshole he is. But yet people will probably still continue voting on him. But over the next couple weekends, I'll be driving to Rockford and Peoria. So if there's anybody in Illinois that wants to help get petitions signed to defeat rhino vaccinologist Darren LaHood, please follow me, message me, and I'll send you details on where we're going to be and how we're going to get signatures. Thanks, everybody.
All right, well, good luck to you, John. Hope it all goes well and be safe. You know, those APAC guys are pretty ruthless. Thomas Massey will be the first to tell you saw what happened with his wife. Unfortunately, God rest her soul, just for exposing APAC and the fact that all congressmen that take APAC money end up getting their handlers as well as babysitters. So,
yeah, at least you're pretty far ahead of the other ones. I'm scrolling because I know you followed me back. I'm scrolling through some of the Thailand. So you got that lovely Vivid guy talking about October 7th and all that, but we can save that for another day. But Tisha, did you want to jump in because you're always quick, and then we'll go to my guy William.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's obvious history repeats itself. I love that you guys brought up Operation Trust because there's a whole lot of people making money off selling that Q nonsense. Liz Crokin, she will never, ever mention Branson. Isn't that interesting? Why?
Yeah, because she went to his island.
She went to his island, absolutely.
hanging out with the Bronfmans there, Sarah and Claire.
Yeah. She'll never bring it up. I tried to. I cornered her. She will not speak on it. I mentioned. I actually posted something below about the $500 billion for the Stargate project. That's below. If anybody wants to read about that. And I wanted to mention. I'm sure you guys know about this, but it's so crazy that Trump decided to put back up the Albert Pike statue. Is that paying homage to the grandfather of Freemasonry? I don't know. I'm just putting it up there. That's crazy. But to what Jonathan said earlier about doing something, Megan Walsh was in the room earlier, and she's starting a project called Better Ways. And just basically doing simple, keeping things better, and doing it in better ways locally, where you just help each other out, like giving a single mom or a ride or whatever it is, just doing small things for the community to help each other out. So I just wanted to add those things in real quick. And what do you guys think of the Albert Pike thing? I mean, is it obvious? Like, hello, like he's paying homage. I think so.
He's just part of trying to fulfill that end of times prophecy they really want to achieve, right? So Albert Pike made that Third World War prediction, besides the first two, and Trump's probably part of the self-fulfillment part of it. He's the one that's going to possibly get us into that ultimate Third World War. So this way the Jews can end up building the third temple and get their Messiah here and wipe out 2/3 of humanity. So I don't know. There's probably some symbolism behind it, but everything Trump does is usually as a result of a directorate from above. He does as his paymasters tell him to do. So I don't really pay too much credence with what he says and does. Like, look at him right now, just squirming and worried and insulting people over the Epstein list, just completely losing credibility within his own base, just from the way he's talking now.
100%. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
I have Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, and I gotta admit, it is a pretty interesting book. Freemasonry was very popular in America in the 1860s all the way up to 1920s, 30s. The first skyscraper in Chicago was a Freemason building. So Freemasonry in America and the world is an interesting history in itself.
Yeah, agreed. All right, I think it was William and then Prashant. Go ahead, William.
Hey, Truth, how are you? Great space here. I truly enjoyed listening to that speaker, Sam Parker. First time I heard him, really good. I like how he doesn't just recite statistics and this and that, but he presents in a way where people who may be hesitant about detailing others now not have just the confidence, but they're armed with the reality and the talking points, the logical conclusions presented, and I think they'll feel less alone. That's what the Jew wants. They want you to feel alone when bringing this up, and so I hope a lot of people repeated that. I certainly did. Second thing, I don't know if y'all just know, 5-6 hours ago, the Cracker Barrel logo was sent through a Jew filter. Now, the new Cracker Barrel logo omits the white man with the barrel to the left and the words old country store been omitted. Don't want that. I mean, you walk into a store, old country store, you're not going to expect to see some blue-haired, cupped-out lady, pierced-up tattoo, doesn't give a shit. And, of course, the CEO of Cracker Barrel is a Jewess, Julie something. And, unbelievable. And one final thing. If anyone has information on this, I have this theory that David Portnoy and Michael Rappaport are the same Jew. So if anyone has information on that, please forward it to me. Anyway, great space, and that's it. I land there.
They probably have common ancestry, maybe the same grandparents, great-grandparents from all the inbreeding. That's why they look similar. No, they're separate people for sure. Other than can act, and somehow they made it. I think Rappaport is more dependent on getting his George Soros funding, just where he can promote Israel all the time and deny things like apartheid. Whereas Portnoy is just he's just a nut job, man.
They say Michael Rappaport's herpes sore on his lip has infected over 8,000 people.
6 million? Is that for real, John? 8,000?
At a minimum. I mean, I'm just making a joke.
Yeah, don't stare at too long on your phone screen, or it passes through the cyberspace.
If he's on X, space becomes contagious. Be careful, guys. Don't get too close.
Liz Brooke and claims to have brain damage from that. Brooke's getting a herpes or whatever you call it, herpes on her lip. She claims to have brain damage from it. She does.
Look how the room went down to 492 people after that DDoS attack. That was wild. I've never seen that on X before.
I've seen it get much higher, like 50, 60,000 in big spaces.
Yeah, I guess we're not that big of a deal yet. We'll work our way out.
7,000 to 8,000 bot attack. That's respectable though. That's not to sneeze at. You're definitely you're onto something there.
So let me ask you a question. How do you defend against being labeled a Jew hater, anti-Semite, knowing that if Israel wants to stop any type of American organizing in terms of stopping funding, stopping weaponry? I mean, basically the status, a lot of people want the status quo to stay the same. So I'm just wondering, how do you defend against being labeled, anti-Semitic?
Talking about the country or a person?
Here as a person here on Spaces doing, patriotic activities, because, if you believe that 9/11 was an inside job or a cover-up or a Mossad operation, or you believe all the subsequent wars and all the spending was a plot to essentially protect Israel from Saddam Hussein, from Gaddafi, from all these people that wanted to destroy Israel, I'm just wondering, how do you as an American who is a patriotic American firster, how do you defend against the label of being anti-Semitic?
Well, first of all, you can't worry about being called a name. That's number one. I get called a Nazi, anti-Semite, Jew hater, a racist, probably or some combination every day, literally every day. You have to, number one, not be worried about it or that it makes you. Although I do acknowledge that if it's new for you, it will be jarring, it will be dispiriting, it might hurt a little bit. You know, because most people have good hearts and nice people, and they don't, you know, want to be called these vile smears, quote unquote vile smears. But number one, it's got to be tough, and who cares what they call you? Just like when you're a kid, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's number one. Number two, if somebody calls you a Jew hater, there's different ways of dealing with that. One way you can deal with it is like, name the Jews I hate. Like if you're in a conversation or somebody accuses you of being a Jew hater, say, name the Jews I hate. Put them on the spot. Tell them to tell you and list the Jews that you hate. And they won't be able to, probably. You know, does anybody really hate like Stan Lee? I mean, maybe some hardcore anti-Semite, white nationalist maybe hate Stan Lee. You know, the comic strip, you know, artist, the comic creator, Fantastic Four, X-Men, these types of things. I mean, does anybody hate Stan Lee? Does does anybody hate William Shatner, Captain Kirk? You know, or I mean, maybe some people do. But like, you know, there's, you know, the point is like, do you hate Jews or do you disapprove of certain actions and behaviors, right? So if somebody accuses you of being a Jew hater, just say, okay, name the Jews I hate, and that usually shuts them up. That's one strategy. There are others, but you'll figure it out as you go. If they call you, and by the way, everybody should remember this if you don't know it. If you get called a Nazi, a Jew hater, an anti-Semite, a fascist, a Holocaust denier, a Hamas supporter, a terrorist, you know, or half a dozen other names, these all just mean that Jews don't like you. That's what it means, right? And that if you oppose Jews or Jewish power or Jewish agendas, they will smear you with one of these labels. And usually the label tells you what you're running afoul of. Like, you know, if you're supporting Palestine too much, well, now you're a Hamas supporter or you're a terrorist. You know, if you say, well, wait a second, maybe the Third Reich had some good economic ideas, you know, maybe National Socialism wasn't all bad. Well, now you're a Nazi, right? If you want to close the border, you know, and control immigration and deport people, you're a white supremacist, you're a fascist, right? But these all mean the same thing. They all mean that you oppose Jews and Jewish supremacy and Jewish power and Jewish agendas. That's what it means. It means that they hate you. That's what it means. And they'll always attack, strike out, cry out pain as they attack. That's what they're doing when they call you those things, right? So, you know, you just can't be fazed by the names they call you. You have to remember, like, when they call you these names, it means you're usually over the target.
Yep.
And just keep pushing forward anyway. And if they really challenge you and you want to strike back, just say, okay, name the Jews I hate. And make them name some Jews you hate. And they probably won't be able to name any Jews you hate because it's quite likely that you don't really have a visceral hatred for any specific Jew. Maybe a few, maybe there's a few. You know, and if there are, then you can be sanguine about it. Say, you know, I hate them. Like they sent the SWAT team to my house 9 times in 4 days, like they did to Lucas Gage. You know, maybe they say, well, maybe I hate some Jews. You know.
Yes, Sam nailed it. Also, the way I go about it is just don't give it any attention. Just ignore it for the most part because they want you to fight back. Then they get you caught up in it.
Yeah, mine is if you must engage, that's a strategy. But normally I just ignore it, just lie and move on or ignore.
Can you just cite Shulamit Aloni? She was a former Knesset minister and won some Israeli Person of the Year award. And she stated clearly on this one episode of Democracy Now! That anti-Semitism, that's a trick that we use to stifle legitimate criticism of Israel. And so it's just resorting to ad hominem essentially to try to demoralize you and stop you from just observing.
Well, she divided that. In Europe, they accuse you of Holocaust denial. In America, they accuse you of anti-Semitism.
Yep.
Right. So it's geography dependent. Now, Victor Ostrovsky, former member of the Mossad, he says that the Mossad would use the B'nai B'rith to smear people in the media. People, if there was anybody in the media stepping out of line or getting out of line.
ADL derived from B'nai B'rith, if you recall, right?
Correct.
Leo Frank was a member of B'nai B'rith before they developed the
Right. Yeah. In fact, it used to be called the ADL of the B'nai B'rith. Yeah. Right. Exactly. But the point is that was the organization they would use to smear people as anti-Semites. And he says that's a stink you can't wash off. But he's like, if there's a journalist or somebody popping off or saying things that Israel doesn't like, they'll just get in touch with their B'nai B'rith contacts, and then the B'nai B'rith will conduct a whisper campaign and a public relations campaign. Scare them, as I said.
Rachel, the nicest woman in the world, who adopted a Palestinian child who's got his legs blown off. Or became an anti-Semite of the month like a couple months ago. So it's like, they'll come at anyone. They just leave it to John. Like Sam said, perfectly. Like I do. I don't care what they do. Something about the Congress doesn't matter to me. But like there's one kid that I just sort of called him. But I don't even care what. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I feel his name counts. But I just like he'll probably 20 times a week he'll at me and fucking say all this shit, all this fucking absolute nonsense. I don't even literally just ignore him. I don't know how to feel going. And I let him speak to Jake even though it was on last Saturday morning. So I'll let anyone speak, especially if they're calling me out. But back up, I guess, for a couple years. He's like, if I ever see him in that fucking space again, he's like, all right, great. So it's some person trying to say we're this and that. But yeah, just ignore it. That's the easiest way to do it. And like Sam said, unless you have to, then you can engage it. And I would almost say even, hey, you know what, if you think of this and that, then let's have space about it, talk it out instead of being weaselly about it, shit over comments and stuff. But yeah, just ignore it. That's the shit they go away.
Well, I mean, in 2001, when 9/11 happened, I'm only 19 years old. Everybody is very naive at 19. Nobody understands the history prior to 9/11. So you're innocent. On 9/11, a lot of innocent Americans got wrapped up, but I don't have Israeli derangement syndrome. I've got George Bush and Cheney derangement syndrome. If we want to be self-reflective and personally responsible, I mean, it's Colin Powell and people in our government that let us down. That instead of doing a controlled response to 9/11, we are now $37 trillion in debt with a pandemic, scamdemic to top off 25 years of war. So I'm just saying, you could sit here and blame Jews and Israel all day long, but when it comes to our own government, we live in fucking clown world.
What I would say to that, though, I was going to add one more tip to how to deal with the label shooting or whatnot. That's it. First of all, why is it they don't take issue with Jews blaming all Germans collectively, still collecting reparations? Why is it the Jews get to generalize for those they don't like? They'll say the Italian mafia, they're mafia. Italians, they have that stereotype to their new name. And they have a problem with others, Gentiles, calling out Jews for their criminal activity. Now, again, I have no problem with them because of the George Bush and Cheney. But I mean, look at the people that were surrounding us. They won't mention Paul Wolfowitz or Richard Perot or Scooter Levy, three Jews that were responsible for the foreign policy plan that ensued following 9/11 that took place. What preceded 9/11 was, of course, the great memo that was drafted by the State Department. That was by, again, individuals like David Wurzer, again, Richard Perot, and also Doug Feith, three Jews who had to invade Iraq and also Syria. It was just in 96. And then in 98, you had Richard Bill Crystal and then Richard Kagan, two Jews, in addition to Paul Wolfowitz. That's Robert Kagan, by the Robert Kagan, the husband of Victoria Nuland. Yeah, who advised her real name to change. And Kagan is short for Kitover, which is short of his name as well. Just the name of Plaza Kitover, which is the Bolshevik Jew. So you have all these Jews in charge of the State Department that devise these policies that end up becoming the foreign policy for America to get into wars against countries like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, later Yemen, of course Afghanistan begin with, and later on Somalia, Pakistan. So they come up with these plans to rabbi meetings I do, this is in around 1995, 96, 5 years before. How did they know?
I didn't even know that. I thought he said something like now the Americans know how we feel or something like that. Something along those lines. And then the way I always say it, basically, it's just from fucking one of my favorite movies, even though people hate it. Like, well,
Why did Yellow say 9/11 was good? Why did he say 9/11?
doesn't say yeah.
Why did he say that?
May I interrupt?
Yeah.
I remember on 9/11, Netanyahu said that day, now Americans see what we go through every day.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it is like someone who thinks he's yeah, was remember that lady for I forget her name. Was her name. I mean, like you guys just I forget what she said. Say that you guys don't blame your government this and that. And you guys just try to. I mean, you think you say the scapegoat. I forget what it was, but it's like, no, yeah, our government's 100% responsible as well. Like it's like take Cheney, obviously. Don't understand.
What about when they do stand up to world jury if the JFK does it, they get killed?
Yeah.
McKinley was 100 days into his presidency. In 1900, he got killed because he was investigating Northern Securities that was owned by J.P. Morgan's dad initially in the Rothschilds. Because they knew about the corruption and money laundering they were up to. They were just going to shut them down, so they killed them. Yeah. Theodore Roosevelt takes power without an election. Similar to like LBJ took power. Okay. They controlled the outcome for the next four elections all the way into World War I. So they were the ones that Theodore Roosevelt would then take power again, and then you have William Howard Taft, and then you have Woodrow Wilson. You controlled all the elections. Even before 1913, they were still head of American politics.
It's like they did now with controlling everything right up until 9/11 and the Cold War and terror. Here we are, where they ran, they made everyone hate neocons, rightfully so, and people like old white men, and they run McCain against Hillary in 2008. So then Hillary, or so Obama, against Obama, then Obama wins, obviously gets in there and just does their bidding, and then they.
The point I'm making here, if you're going to blame the likes of George W. and Dick Cheney, then sure, rightfully so. They made money out of Albert, made a lot of money from Iraq War. No question about it. Then you also have to give credit to those American presidents who stood up to global jury and paid the price. Richard Nixon paid the price too.
Yeah,
he caused it. George H.W. Bush, they were going to assassinate him.
That's what I heard.
His presidency because he suspended $10 billion of aid to Israel. So whatever American presidents, white American presidents, stand up to global jury, they pay the price. Whether it's loss of election or some bullshit scandal, like even Clinton and the Lewinsky affair, because he wouldn't release Jonathan Paula, so they publicized the tapes, the Lewinsky tapes, because they were spying on them.
And then all of a sudden it shows how much these Jews truly, quote unquote, care about us. As soon as you do one thing to go against them, little year, Nixon year, George Bush Senior, all these things, your JFK, your McKinley, and that's why I say, like, I joke about it, but don't joke about it. Like, the only ticket out, vote for 2028. I ain't voting for anyone that is a political atheist. I am opting out of the system. But the only ticket I mean, Fuentes loaded it on Alex Jones like a month ago when he was on Dan Bilzerian running. I don't think it's true, but I hope. But the only one, like I say all the time, I'm kind of doing my best to pull it into existence when something happens. I hope it does. Is Dan Bilzerian going short in 2028? But then, like I said, in the same breath, if that was to somehow come to fruition, which I truly hope it does, really do, but I don't think it will. But if it did, I don't put it past these motherfuckers. That's why people say, like, back up and stuff. I agree with them, Maddie as well. Like Maddie Black, Burke podcast. There really is no political solution. They have this shit on a stranglehold, and if someone rises up that is legitimate enough, they will, in 2 seconds, do what they have to do because they're not going to give up power. But yeah, it's a good point. And it just, again, like I say all the time, too, we bono. That's what we bono. Israel, cool. Got the Greater Israel Project, got America to go to the Middle East, a bunch of fucking queens just dying for Middle Eastern wars for no reason. And again, 22 to 27 veterans committing suicide every day because they're went overseas when they're 19 years old. Their frontal cortex is developed. And they said, why am I killing these Muslims for no reason? I have nothing against them. And they come back and realize, well, shit, it's all for reason. Or they double down like some Ross like Tim Kennedy and write books and say they're this great hero that saved the world. But yeah, it is Jews. At the end of the day, it is what it is.
John, one of the tips is to want to have a long career in politics, even for the younger demographic, it's really going to be a voter throughout your career. A lot of them are anti-Israel and they understand the Jewish problem much better so
older than parents and grandparents. So keep that in mind. And we know
Do
these
they
metrics are
understand
real.
the clown
You see it
world
in TikTok.
problem?
Sorry?
Do they understand the clown world problem? The Rashida Tlaibs, the Ilhan Omars. I mean, is this country not inundated with clowns?
Yeah, see, that's where I knew that's where
Let me put in my two
Go ahead,
cents
Patty.
for my phone guys.
Go ahead, do it.
My phone guys, 'cause I've been trying to get up here for a while and it wouldn't let me. John, yeah, you gotta understand, John, because I heard you a little bit ago. Oh, by the way, hi everyone. Here in Keith, hi. So yeah, hey, I'm walking around the neighborhood over here. You might hear some birds talking to me. They tweet. So anyway, yeah, John, I'm listening to what you're saying, right? You gotta fucking remember that they fund both sides of the fucking coin. Both sides are walking like speed walkers in like 10,000. They fund both sides of the fucking war. Both sides of every operation, by the way. 2017, when I went back to my hometown, Tampa, Florida, for a trip, my Arabic Lebanese friend took me out for a nice Mediterranean meal at a restaurant in Tampa called Biblos. So we went there, we had a good time, then we got in our car, and as we were driving away, we stopped at the stop sign, we got a little bump from behind us, from behind us. So everyone stopped, he stopped, we all opened the car, and I looked at the behind the bumper, and I told my friend Lisa, I said, all right, no big deal, he didn't scratch that, let's go. No, I want to call the cops. No, it's really not a big deal. He said, you can just get it fixed for not even 10 bucks. Let's just go. It's too much to sit here. Maybe for an hour. Okay, fine. So then we walked to the car. We asked the guy, I said, do you have insurance before we call the cops? I didn't want to get into this shit. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care about this. Like, don't call them. But she was so adamant. So he handed us this ID. He's a Palestinian, an arms dealer, Big Deal Air Force Base in Tampa. And he had a Florida driver's license and it's a safe driver. How the fuck does a Palestinian get, they're being wiped out right now, completely wiped out right now. How the fuck does a supposed Hamas leader, right, be wiped out Gaza because they're all Hamas, get a driver's license, it says safe driver, and on the license it says arms dealer from Palestine. And he works with MacDill Air Force Base. How does that happen, John? Like how?
Laura Loomer has exposed how the State Department, some fucking asshole employees have been allowing these women, pregnant Palestinian women, to come here and have their anchor babies.
I'm talking about.
I've said it for a while. They put these people like Rashida Tlaib and you know what, I'm not sticking up for them at all. I'm not defending them. I'm not on their side at all. But they put them in places so that people, to be honest, like yourself, John, can say, oh, look, what do we do about these dumbasses? Of course, they are dumbasses. When we have on Twitter AIPAC openly bragging about owning 98% of our Congress and saying it pays off to be pro-Israel and all this shit. Trump was praying at Remy Schneerson's grave on October 7th before he's elected and all this stuff. So that's just like the Dearborn, Michigan. Yeah, I want to.
John said that he would take AIPAC money, like at the beginning when he just came out, like, John, would you take AIPAC money?
Listen, we have $600 in my campaign account. If AIPAC wanted to send me $50,000 to attack a guy that they've already sent $50,000 to, if they're that stupid to give me the money, I'll take their stupid money.
So, John, you can't see America first. Careful, you can't see America first. So, yeah, so this was in 2017 and we're in 2025. Imagine if they let Hamas run around America, right? Arms dealing with a license to do so, and then they get on the fucking Fox News 13 bullshit channel and say they're the enemy.
I don't understand. His driver's license said he was an arms dealer. What are you talking about?
Yes, his driver's license. Because at Big Deal, if you work at the Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, I don't know where you're from, but in Tampa, Florida, when you come in and out of the Air Force Base, you have to have a legit required license to do so. And he had a Big Deal Air Force Base license that said arms dealer. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, whoa. And I went back to Lisa, I'm like, just don't call the cops, don't call it.
She called them. The cops came. He said, "Why did you call me for something stupid as a bumper?" And he left. That was that. But I'm so glad that it happened that night because I got to see that license. Now, after they took down Syria, the first thing they did is burn down the Passport Immigration Center. So you don't know who's daddy. And they issued IDs from Turkey. In Florida, the Puerto Ricans used to issue IDs to the Cubans. It's very deep. They've got both sides of the fucking story. About every operation. And don't forget, George W. Bush took a piece of paper and said, "This is what the Constitution is. It's just a damn piece of paper." So I'm with Richard or John Deason. Whatever he says is way beyond that. Way beyond learning. Way beyond any of that shit. It's time to fucking rock and roll, man. And I'll speak up. I don't give a fuck. I put in the purple pill last night. I was talking to some friends and family in Gaza that I support, and he showed me like 4 pieces of pineapple. They haven't had pineapple in 7 fucking months, and it's down there in the purple pill. These motherfuckers haven't had pineapple in 7 months or beans, but the USA government, MacDill Air Force Base, is letting supposed enemies run around with a license, dealing license. Fucking make it make sense. Yeah, I'm pissed. But when I walk, things in my mind just get stuck. You think more like when you're walking and talking, and I don't even know.
So what do you think was at George Bush Sr.'s funeral when they passed around those notes? I've always wondered, what do you think the secret message was that George Bush Sr. wanted people to know at his funeral?
I don't know. That seems like a QAnon psyop to me, to be honest. Because for a little while, I was never a QAnon person, but for a little while, it was like, okay, all right, that is pretty interesting. But I think that was like in my opinion, now that I look back on a QAnon thing to make everybody think like, oh shit, here they go, it's coming, Trump's gonna come in, they're gonna lock everybody up again, and we're gonna MAGA, blah blah blah, Hillary's gonna be in Guantanamo, look at our faces, and I mean, at the end of the day, some of them are like, Pam Bondi's literally on IMDb, she's a literal actress on IMDb, and a lot of them are actors or actresses. I mean, Anna Paulina Luna, whatever her real name is, former stripper, all that. I think that was one of the ones that I will say, though, that was pretty convincing at first. It was like, what the fuck, but nothing's come of it, so I think it was just another psyop to get people believing and buying into the 5D QAnon, Trump's gonna come in and arrest everybody, he's got them all scared, and did this whole thing over the last couple of years, whether it's fucking with, what's her name, Eugene Carroll, the wacko lady that said Trump raped or whatever, yeah, it seems like he's pretty bad in doing that, but I doubt it was her, but they did that on purpose with her because she's a fucking whack job crazy lady they put out there, so everyone, even the people on the left, were like, shit, maybe even Trump is being persecuted, and then they did all these Jack Smith ones, and I fully believe this now, some people disagree, but I fully believe it. 1, 2, 3 cases, he gets Mar-a-Lago raided, all this stuff, he's gonna go to jail, he's gonna go to Fannie Willis, he's gonna go to Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, he's gonna go to Rikers Island with Letitia James for all these cases that are brought up, and he's this big bad guy, and they're coming to get him, and then Flynn's on his side, and Roger Stone, the 3 Avengers are fighting the deep state, they're fighting all these guys, all this, well, Roger Stone literally in 2015 or 2016 looked up, I forget, whatever he looked up 2 weeks before, I think Russiagate came out, he's on Google typing stuff in, he's obviously linked up with Jews and Netanyahu and many other things, goes back to Nixon obviously, and with that whole QAnon psyop shit, Flynn's Unit 200 among other things, but all of a sudden just magically, just right before Trump gets, the election rolls around, right before, just poof, Letitia James drops the case, Fannie Willis gone, Jack Smith, all these DOJ things, poof, 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 and then the fake assassination, which I didn't think was fake, really, for the most part. I thought it was sketchy until that video that just came out recently where the guy's ushering the camera in right in front of the fucking thing and pointing cameras at Trump as the flag dips down in the back. It was just all long, and they did a good job, just like the pandemic. They hit us hard. They did a great job building up Trump and saying, hey, he's this hero, he's fighting everybody. Look at all these people hate him, and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden he gets elected and he's sitting there with Obama and they're laughing, having a good old time. So that's without a doubt what that was for a while. The thing with, like you're talking about, again, that seems like, I think that's what it was. That was the one that seemed most believable to me, but nothing's happened from it. So it's just more, they're all on the same side, obviously, at the end of the day. All these quote-unquote elites are on the same side, and they just play us off each other.
So you don't think Michael Crooks actually got a shot off on Trump's ear? You think that whole thing was staged?
I don't know if Crooks did or not, to be honest, exactly. I don't know that much, but I'll throw the thing and I'll DM it to you just in case you can't see the nest. Sometimes people can't. I'll throw it in the front of the nest because it's.
I've seen the video of the camera people, getting in the front, but that to me seems like that's what camera people would do. That's what I would do if I had my cell phone. I would want to film it,
Well, yeah, with the cell phones, I mean, I threw it in the front of the nest, if anyone hasn't seen it. If you have a cell phone, I get it, yeah, but the fact that these people are literally ushered right in front of him by Trump's little, whatever, not Secret Service, whatever the fuck, manager guys or whatever they are, that they're ushered right in front of him, and like I've talked about before, I mean, obviously the flag dropping back perfectly in the background as he's on the ground. I didn't think it was, I was down the middle because, this guy, Corey Carpentier, died, unfortunately, and rest in peace. But the whole thing was
scar on his ear if that was real for bullets supposed to.
Yes, exactly. And now there's no scar, and then when you look at this video more and more, they were on the ground for so long. I mean, he was that, I don't want to say a pro wrestler, but he was a wrestler and stuff. And like I've said before, it's in the comments. The thing that really sticks out to me the most, besides the flag, is because I agree with you. Anyone with a camera phone in the audience, yeah, they're gonna do that. But these people that are ushered by this little fucking minion guy in the front, the Secret Service agent stares directly at them with an AR-15. And if anyone knows anything about law enforcement, because people are trying to say, oh, those guys were already cleared, the cameramen, it does not fucking matter. If there is bullets actively flying around the president, and you are going to go directly in front of the president and point a camera literally 3 feet away from his face that could be in today's day and age with technology, that could have a bullet inside of it and shoot him right in the head. And the Secret Service agent staring right the fuck at him as they take that picture. Then they get ushered off to the side when he's coming off the steps, and they take another picture. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I know law enforcement. I've asked them about it. Then I already know myself. They would, that Secret Service agent in front that stares right at them would say, get the fuck on the ground right now before I shoot you in the fucking face, because you're not going to point something at the president. I don't know who the hell you are. There's bullets flying left and right. The threat hasn't been neutralized yet because the snipers didn't take him out yet. So with the Crooks thing, I don't know. It was weird. I mean, he obviously, I don't know if he got shots off of someone else, whatever it was, but then they obviously had no silverware. His whole apartment was clean. They cremated his body like Bin Laden. But it was another thing, and then these Jews, I've seen Jewish people talk about the ritual where you get your right ear nicked or whatever, which I don't even think it did, but whatever, the symbolism of it means they're our guy and stuff. And it's crazy to think, and then, unfortunately, Corey Carpentier died. If he did, I don't want to go that far down the rabbi hole and say he didn't. But then there's more of the gematria shit, which I don't even like, but the Jews do follow it, and Trump gets up and he yells, fight, 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 right? 3 things in a row, fight, fight, fight. There's your 666, Corey Carpentier. There's 333 right there, the firefighter who died. And then they misspelled his name at the RNC, which was weird. But after seeing that, the flag dip, the cameramen, and then, like I said, all the other things. And then you know what it was, too? Honestly, to add on to that, everyone jumped on board then. Elon, Mark Andreessen, the PayPal Mafia, David Sachs, all these people jumped on board and said, well, I got to support Trump now. I got to support him. Everybody's got to support him. So it's like they all knew they were waiting for it. CNN was there for the first time. It was the first rally they covered in forever. The whole Crooks thing makes no sense, too, because the motherfucker's walking around the roof for 30 minutes. There's hammered people in the audience hey, that guy's got a fucking AR up there. What's going on? Hey, cops, you want to do anything about this? Literally fucking hammered in the video. They're like, bro, that guy got a gun? Holy shit, he's got a gun. Hey, Secret Service agent. What? What's going on? The window behind him was supposed to have security. So I don't know who took the shot, but it was another way to build up Trump to make him be this god-like figure in QAnon and MAGA's eyes, which he has become in certain ways. And luckily people are seeing through it now, but it's just because I don't like to go down the rabbit hole of everything's fake and rigged.
Don't forget, Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan immediately after and said that was the most badass thing I've ever seen. And that was after he had his falling out. And then he had an apology tour with Trump. So, Zuckerberg platformed Fauci for countless months, for years, encouraging everybody to get the COVID-19 vaccine through Meta. So there's Al Capone was brought down by the IRS. And I think a lot of these billionaires who do nonprofit charities to essentially avoid paying any income tax, they should be brought down in the same way that Al Capone was brought down.
I agree. I've maintained this for a while. I agree because I've said for a while because people did that. People fell for that psyop. Like, oh, Zuckerberg's taking testosterone in his face now because he got a haircut. I've said the exact same thing as you. The exact same thing. I said, I don't give a fuck what he's done. He banned myself off of Facebook. He banned millions of people off of Facebook. My grandparents died from the quote-unquote vaccine. My mom took 2. I hope she's going to be fine. My dad took 5. Like I say all the time, my friends one of them has tinnitus, one of them has AFib, wears a fucking pacemaker. I have another friend who's a nurse who had 2 miscarriages. And people bought that psyop. I hate it. Mark Zuckerberg has so much fucking blood in his hands, it's not even fucking funny. And Rogan and them revitalized his image and said, oh, he's based now. He's a good guy. He's riding on jet skis with the American flag. He's so cool. He's our guy. It's like, no, he literally is just as much responsible as people like Rachel Walensky, not as much as Fauci. He's a monster. But I agree on that part because I hate how people fell for that. Just while he literally censors everything while the vaccine was coming out, killing everybody. You couldn't even say the word vaccine. And because of that, my fucking grandparents are dead. 700,000 Americans, like me and Truth talk about all the time, 20 to 25 million worldwide because of people like him. So yeah, fuck him.
Well, he can do his little sailboard around Hawaii all he wants, build his doomsday bunker. But, you know, I take some reprieve in knowing he's married to one ugly, stupid bitch. And him and his ugly, stupid bitch wife, Priscilla Chen, they built an anti-inflammation $150 billion nonprofit in Chicago because they got a guilt complex for the fucking poison that they mass spammed across the country on their spam ad network, known as Meta Fake Book.
Don't worry, John. Every Satan minions have their day. Don't worry. You can't get fish in Hawaii because they're so fighting contaminants from the Fukushima. And one day maybe a tsunami will come and take his shit away. See, all about the material things. These people are all about material. They think they're going to get away with it, and they won't.
Well, nobody escapes this. Everybody goes through the same gate at the very last day. And I just know that, you know, when he goes through there, he's going to have to hang his head in shame because he's a little bitch.
Yep. Sam, I DM'd you earlier. I don't know if you got it. I just wanted to make sure, see if you did, because I don't know how it works when people don't follow each other. But get back to me whenever you get a chance. Truth, do you want to say something? I don't see anything. Let me speak.
No, Prashant's been waiting a while. So we look.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. I wrote down a couple of notes. You know that Massey and diligent thing, that concerns me. I'm going to have to listen to that because I'm personally not too fond of Diligent and his ongoing support of Trump's crimes, even though it seems like some of them he doesn't like right now. So I'm going to have to listen to that and try to make sense of it because it doesn't feel good to me that Massey went with Diligent, but that's a small point. The other point, a couple of points I wanted to make was anti-Semite. I got a real easy answer for the anti-Semite. And some of you may or may not like this, but my best friend for many years, and he's here in Hawaii with me now, he's a Jewish lawyer. He was a former deputy district attorney from Los Angeles for many years. And I text with him most days and talk with him on the phone most days. And he's my best friend, literally in Hawaii. And he's a surf buddy, although he's too fat to surf now. But so when people tell me I'm an anti-Semite, I say, well, tell that to my best friend, your Jewish lawyer and former deputy DA of Los Angeles. So I guess that doesn't fit too well, does it? And then the third point I wanted to make was vaccines. And I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt because I traveled around the country with RFK's gang and Del Bigtree and Holly Tommy and Brian Hooker for 3 or 4 years to the CDC and to Washington, D.C. and to Sacramento and to Los Angeles. So it's not 72 vaccines, it's 72 doses of a much smaller number of vaccines. And if you say 72 vaccines, they'll slam you because it's just not accurate. It's 72 doses of quite a lot smaller number of vaccines.
How many doses were there in the 1970s?
Yeah, I was going to get to that point. And it wasn't in the 1970s, there were almost no doses. But the key year is 1986 because that's when, who was it? Reagan signed the act to take all liability away from the vaccine makers. So the big change year was 1986. That's when it went from almost none to a massive amount of doses. So make sure that when you talk about that, and say doses are not vaccines, but it may be only 12 or 16 vaccines, but 72 doses. And the other point I wanted to make about the vaccines is the World Health Organization a few years ago, they did a meeting on vaccine hesitancy. There were members from all over the world at that meeting. And kind of the host of the meeting, there were two hosts, a guy and a woman. The woman that hosted the speaking. This is absolutely what this woman said in that meeting. You can probably find the video of that meeting by going to the WHO and looking for it. A meeting on vaccine hesitancy. And what the woman said, she said it. The woman who hosted this meeting more than anybody else, kind of the MC of the meeting, she said, the whole group, all over the world, the World Health Organization said, we put ourselves in a very dangerous place. That's the first thing she said. And then she said, we put ourselves in a very dangerous place because we have substituted natural immunity for vaccine immunity. Now translate that. You can't translate that for yourself. I'll translate it. But essentially what she admitted is that natural immunity is much better than vaccines. And we put ourselves, as she said, in a very dangerous place because we've substituted vaccines for natural immunity. She said it, I didn't say it. She said it to people from all over the world. She admitted that natural immunity was better and that we're in a dangerous place because we've substituted it for vaccines. Another thing she said in that meeting, beyond a shadow of a doubt, none of the vaccines in the current study, none of them have been properly tested. She said in that meeting, you can all listen to it. If you really want it, I'll search that meeting out and let you listen to it. I know where you can find the shorter version on the Highwire. They'll get you everything. Episode 143 or 142. That's where you'll hear her say the things that I just told you. She said it. She said essentially that we put ourselves in a dangerous place because we substituted inferior vaccine immunity for superior natural immune system. That's what she said. She also said, to repeat myself warranty, that they've never been tested. None of the vaccines on the schedule has ever been properly tested. She said both of those things in that meeting. World Health Organization. So almost having Plot can already see this. Yeah, I know he said that on the phone. As I said, I know he said that all the way. So I know he said that because like I said, I traveled the country on this meeting and I listened to Stanley Plotkin say it on the same. It was on the same show, the Highway. So I know all that. So I don't want to go on forever, but George H.W. Bush, one of my least favorite stories about that demon, makes me hard to believe he's speaking against me because in the first Iraq War he was president, right? And there were 60,000 Iraqi troops that surrendered, gave up, threw down their weapons, and surrendered, and were marching back to Iraq. And I think, wasn't that around the Kuwait? Was that first war around the Kuwait issue? Is that correct? Anybody remember?
I believe so. The first one, yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Flame drilling and everything.
Yeah, and there was a lie about that too because the United States gave Kuwait permission to drill underground into Iraqi territory, and then the United States gave the permission to attack Iraq. So they were kind of playing both. The United States government was playing both sides of that game. They gave Kuwait permission to steal Iraq's oil. Then they blamed Iraq for attacking Kuwait. They were playing both sides. But the thing back, if you get back to the thing about Bush, after the Iraqis sold 60,000 of the number that I read, surrendered, threw down their weapons, and were marching back to Iraq, George W. Bush ordered a whole bunch of American fighter jets to literally mow them down. Mow down 60,000 unarmed Iraqi soldiers. That's what George W. Bush did. So I have one more point, but I've already said it.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I think they call it the highway or something, I forget, where they fucking wiped out all those Iraqis.
That was George W. Bush, and he wiped out unarmed Iraqis.
What they called it? They wiped out fucking Colin or
the highway.
Right, yeah, they played both sides of each other.
Highway of death.
Kuwait, you guys can drill into Iraq, did it because John Kiriakou, the ex-CA that I talk about a lot, has talked about it. And then they basically, I think they gave Saddam the green light, whatever, and he went in and used it against him, obviously. And there we go. And then speaking on that, which is wild to talk about before, because John Kiriakou has talked about it. It's like propaganda is so overlooked, rightfully so, but like it's used in so many ways because there's videos I've seen it since John Kiriakou talked about it like a year ago on this podcast was on. Like when they liberated Kuwait or whatever, we liberated Kuwait, there was like when Americans were going down the streets, American soldiers or whatever, like all these Kuwaitis were just waving American flags. Everyone's waving American flags, cheering on the soldiers and everything. And I mean, they were probably happy to be quote unquote liberated, whatever. I don't know the situation too well. But when you stop and think about it, like, you know, at first glance, people don't stop thinking about it, rightfully so. They see it like, oh wow, they're happy. But it's like, wait, how would all these motherfucking Kuwaitis, like hundreds of thousands of them, just get little tiny American flags to wave around, like, you know, to make the Americans think that, hey, we're doing a good job, we're liberating people, so we want to keep going to the Middle East, and, you know, hey, don't go against the war, this is great, look at the Kuwaitis are happy. And then, like John Kiriakou said, he knew the guy, there's a guy, he asked the guy, he said, hey, how did they get all of those? The guy said, what do you mean, for me? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm the minister of propaganda or whatever it is. He's like, oh, I forgot, that's your title. He's like, what do you mean exactly though? He's like, I was the one we bought like 250,000 tiny American flags, we handed them out to everybody. We said, stand on the side of the street and wave our American soldiers by and act like you're happy about everything that's going on. It just goes to the point of just how much our government just little things like that. It always stuck with me. It's like, wow, that's so crazy to think about. Because the average person will not think about it rightfully so. We'll just see it and be like, oh, well, I guess they're happy we're there. And like I said, they might have been, they might have not been. But that whole thing was just, like you said, they played both sides off each other, got a nice free war out of it. And again, we bono Israel because Iraq is slowly overthrown, like Sam said earlier. It's just all about balkanization. It really is. Syria, Libya, Lebanon, they're trying to do it too. Iraq, obviously, and they've done it slowly but surely. Here we are in the Israel projects a couple months away, possibly. I don't know what's going on. We'll see. Yeah, it is wild. But yeah, you're right. I forget what it was called. But Bush and Cheney authorized them to just wipe out like 60,000 Iraqi soldiers that had no means to defend themselves. It was called like the highway to hell. They just forced a lot of them.
And lest we forget, don't forget the daughter of the ambassador or someone wait telling us all about the incubator babies in Iraq. So she's throwing them out on the floor.
Another one, yeah. It's always babies. They always use babies and ovens, and babies and incubators, and then I forget what it is, something else. There's always babies, always.
Babies.
What'd you say, Joanne? Sorry.
The 40 babies.
Yeah, exactly. 40 beheaded babies and ovens. Even the Beavis twins a couple months ago, they said, oh, Hamas strangled these Beavis twins, the babies or whatever, and they killed them, blah, 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 big bad Hamas. And it's like, well, number one, the logic doesn't add up, because why would they strangle babies? Like, if they were going to kill them, they'd just fucking shoot them, unfortunately. But they didn't. Their family came out like a couple days later and like, no, that's a lie. You guys bombed them to smithereens like a couple weeks after they got taken hostage. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And of course, they got shut up, just like the four IDF women soldiers that got released. One of them was like staring at the Hamas guys, and then they come back and they're battered, and when they went in somehow, they're like, yeah, they're awesome to us. They're actually like really friendly, and then within like a week, they completely changed their story. Like, well, actually, they're the devils. We need to go back in there. And never mind, nobody knows that Hamas offered, obviously, on October, I think, 8th, 9th, 10th to return the hostages, because they're trying to just do a hostage swap, and they've offered probably 15 plus times since then to return the hostages. And then Netanyahu says no every time. Bezalel Smotrich snuck it in like 2 months ago, like quietly. Not many people picked up on it. I've talked about it a few times. He said, like, I think it was right before the Iran war, it was right when it was happening. He's like, well, our focus is now shifted to the Iran war, and we no longer care about the hostages. They're not our, they're not in our attention anymore, or whatever. Basically, admitting what we all know the whole time, because if they got the hostages back, they can keep genocide in Palestinians, because everyone would say, well, what the hell? And even like Sam talked about before, a lot of the stuff with these anti-Zionist protests, the quote-unquote Jews in Israel that are protesting against the genocide, it's like, well, you're sitting in Tel Aviv, and some of them probably are good, but you're sitting in Tel Aviv, to the border and actually either try to stop these Jewish supremacist settlers or just whatever, these fanatical Jews that just go and take all the aid trucks and just smash it on the ground or break it up so they can't bring it into Gaza and give it to the starving people that are there. But either way, I digress on that. It's just extremely frustrating. Trump's just going to let it all happen because he doesn't give a fuck. As he said before, just hurry it up, get it over with.
Have you guys noticed that all of the Zionist propagandists, they only post the hostages as being like women in their like 20s that are like decently good looking, nose jobs? Like it's like every single quote unquote hostage is just like a 20-year-old fucking female that's like good looking, or it's a baby. It's never like some Jew with a snozzle nose, you know? Like, what do they think that we're all so stupid?
Yeah, they're banking on your stupidity and they're banking on memory loss. First motive of any operation is when they execute it, they always make sure that you have some sort of memory loss via some kind of like a program that propaganda. Yeah, propaganda, all of that. So yeah, they literally do think you're stupid. 100%. That's what this movie Idiocracy is all about. And Hollywood is one big science. Don't you guys ever realize every time we're on some sort of space, everyone always brings up a movie that they've seen that kind of relates to what's happening now. Oh, remember like this? Remember that? It's all because of smelling. It's a big fucking smell and everything.
Yeah, Candace did a good job explaining that. I think she was on with Charlemagne Fraud. I don't know if you ever looked at it. I didn't hear her. It was like a year and a half ago she did it or something. It's like a thing, but I'll send it to you. I'll find it.
Yeah, send that to me. After she interviewed Harry Weinstein, she did challenging questions. I lost respect for her totally.
I lost a lot of respect for her. So I don't even look at it. She did a good job exposing what you were talking about, how the Pentagon's behind every city. They're even behind Transformers randomly. They bankrolled that, but they're behind all of them. And then when you think about it, it makes sense. Obviously, they're behind Black Hawk Down, they're behind Lone Survivor. That was a complete fake. What's his name? Marcus Control admitted, yeah. They just came to me when I was in the hospital and said, here you go. We made a whole fucking Hollywood movie on you that Mark Wahlberg's going to star in. Just sign your name. He said, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, they made a Hollywood movie on 911, but you caught it. The Last Kiss Goodnight with Samuel Jackson and Gina Davis. They were instructed to shoot buildings. They shot one building in Times Square, New York. Oh, we'll just blame it on the Muslims. It's right in that movie. Last Kiss Goodnight, Samuel Jackson and Gina Davis. So I don't know what Candace said, but I've been in the film that way before Candace came on the scene. So yeah, in all the movies. And Idiocracy is a pretty good one too. And Idiocracy shows you how they poison your water.
Oh, so many of them were.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one that's called.
And one really good one, and I'll land. I swear to God, I'll land.
No, take it. You're right.
Rat race. Nobody caught this one, not even Kitover, and a whole bunch of awesome Jews in rat race. And there's a good slots and all kinds of rich millionaires sitting on the penthouse of the casino. Tell these people that there's rat money in the locker, go get it. And I think Hitler was even in that. We did like a cameo in that movie. It's called Rat Race. It shows you how they get all distracted to all of that materialism and to all of that money bag, while they take everything from you from there. And when they show the people in the penthouse, like the sort of like the leaders we have now, they show how they think you're stupid and how they're laughing at your ass. It's very dehumanizing in every sort of way a human being can ever feel. So, I mean, they can't really feel the way that the Palestinians and the Gazans feel, but yeah, it's sort of just dehumanization, ritual, banking on your memory loss.
Yeah, I got a jet. I just gotta interject real quick because I got a jet. So thanks for having me. Gonna hear Heidi there at the end, and I'll see you Saturday.
I'm good, brother. I'm glad you saw that.
Talk to you guys later.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on. Have a good night.
Yeah, it's karmic retribution. It's all stuff that they revelation and ready, if you want to call it, tell you what they do. And Ryan Sikorsky is welcome me into this more so because it is both things I believe where it's because they're Satanists and they want to get their karma up off them because if they tell you what they're going to do and then you go along to do it, and they're like, well, the thing I've always used before, if you were selling apples and then Heidi comes along to buy wants a poison apple and I sell it to her and poison her, then I poison her. But if I write poison apples when she buys one and poisons herself, it's like, well, you knew what it was beforehand. Well, they also do it to get people's consent because it's in the back of their mind and all these things, just like weird things like fucking Neo's and the Matrix passport expires on 9/11 somehow, and then Contagion and all these things where, you know, whatever, I Am Legend, all these movies about viruses and this and that, and then all of a sudden, pandemic, and right
You just reminded me of one thing that I have to say when we're talking about passports. Keith, do you know, just for a regular, normal citizen, not of Jewish descent, how long does it take to get a U.S. passport delivered to you when you first apply for it?
I do not know actually, because I've never had one, but I'm going to need to buy one soon because I'm going
About 3 to 4 weeks, so about a month.
Okay, that'd be good. I need to.
But if you're Jewish descent, guess how long it takes you to get a passport?
271,000 seconds. Yeah, probably.
We're close, but 3 days, like opposed to 3 weeks. So you see how they're trying to even make it difficult for Americans to leave.
Yeah, that's just damn. I'm writing that down in my notes. Yeah, see, there you go. There it is, right there. Little simple things like that. That I'm actually now I need to. I'm glad you said that because I'm going to Vegas. I think my dad, my friends, and my buddy coaches for the Raiders, and going in November 17th, I think. But because you need a real ID now, thank you, Donald Trump. You know, you need a real ID, which is related to 2030, so they can tie everything into you with their lovely Palantir credit score. I will not be getting that, even though my dad already got it. He's like, just fucking get it, dude. $2 that's zero problem. I'm gonna explain it to you. You can use the password.
6 to 8 weeks, but you have to pay extra to expedite it. It's 2 to 3 weeks. You see?
Oh,
so,
there you go. So you gotta pay.
Yeah, so it's even longer. I'm just giving you the if you pay extra, you can get it in 2 to 3 weeks. If you don't, you gotta wait at least 2 months. But if you're of the Israeli descent, Jewish descent, it's 3 days.
Yeah, so this Hollywood stuff, yeah, it's kind of crazy when you finally wake up and you realize that it's actually more of a government operation, or like even much studios are owned by Jewish interests because they funnel the money that's sent to Israel back into Hollywood, and they make movies to basically create a narrative. Like, for example, in the movie World War Z, one of the only nations that is still safe is Israel itself, like a city in Israel, because the Mossad intelligence was smart enough to build a wall when they saw that the world was falling apart. And that's just like one example. Like, even the movie like Saving Private Ryan, where like the Germans are vilified, especially that scene where the German soldier, it's just like all of these movies, if you're not able to like kind of see past the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing, that it just basically controls you in every single kind of way if you're not seeing past the bigger picture, and it's all government controlled. And most normies just think, oh, it's a Hollywood movie, like it's entertainment, like bro, what are you talking about? That's a conspiracy theory. Yeah, sure, like Columbia Pictures owned by the CIA, all these other big studios are owned by like we all know that the Jews control Hollywood, and they've been creating these narratives since the 1930s, and I mean they've been in control prior to that when the Zionist Congress was created in the 1880s. So it's just like a lot of fucking what's the word for it? Like you gotta break
that horrible. Yeah, you gotta break the program and stuff. But you're right. I mean, because we all know who owns Hollywood and stuff, and you're dead on. I mean, that's why I threw it up a message on the campus letter. She just was one that opened my eyes when I first saw it. And you get people behind Transformers, but they're behind everything. Behind Lone Spider, behind Black Hawk Down, behind Saving Private Ryan. Now, obviously, all the Spielberg, all these Jewish, whatever Spielberg is, director, whatever he is, directors and stuff. They're all behind it because what do they need? They need to galvanize. There was one that came out recently, whatever, I forget, another foreign Middle East and stuff. And then, I mean, there's a bunch of really good, and they're always usually the best movies. There's a bunch of damn, like Black Hawk Down's a fucking good movie, but they just memorize it, obviously, and then make young Gentiles, unfortunately, because they're young and impressionable. You know, I don't blame them at all, including myself when I was younger, and like, hey, shit, I'll sign up for the military. You know, that's badass. That's patriotic. They just get everybody in your dead on. So many people do that. Well, come on, bro. You can't go that deep down the rabbit hole, they call it silent. But, you know, come on, not everything's silent. It's like, no, it is. And it's funny you say that because I was watching, I got to finish it off later whenever I'm done my space. This Sam Tripoli who's on Rogan recently. I started watching it. He is the best. I love Sam Tripoli. I need to actually listen to him more because he was cooking on so many things. He was even talking about like Zeppelin and blimps and stuff. I forget what it was, but then he was talking right up the gate. He talked about how all these planes have been crashing, all these plane things have been going on, how that thing that happened a couple months ago, I think it was under Greg 4-5 left office, with that helicopter hitting that plane in DC and then crashing in the river, which is like a sacrifice or something, a Holocaust sacrifice or whatever. But all these planes are falling out of the sky left and right, blowing whistleblowers left and right, whether they're dying or surviving. They're talking about in video, James O'Keefe inside Boeing. They're like, yeah, we just basically put duct tape on the fucking thing and let it fly. And it's all, and Rogan does a good job of playing ignorant, which is aggravating. I actually don't think Rogan as much as I do like people like Tucker, because I know Tucker has an agenda. I know he's going to push JD Vance on us. I know he's going to push China. I know he's basically pro-Israel and all this stuff. Rogan's just obviously a stoner, but he is funded by Teal and other people. He knows what's going on because he kind of shut Sam down, but not much. But he's like, you really think they're like, crashing planes and stuff on purpose? And Sam Tripoli's like, yeah, dude. Like 10 or 20, 30, and 15-minute cities, smart cities, they don't want anybody traveling. They definitely don't want people flying around the world. So all of a sudden now, left and right, these fucking planes are just falling out of the sky. And then Sam Tripoli is also dead on. I've said it a lot the last couple of months. They want to blame DEI. That's why they put in DEI, so they can blame it. And then they can inflame both sides and have white people, especially MAGA people, be like, oh, these fucking dumb names, these dumb whatever, black people, blah, blah, blah. Works a lot of the time. It's manufactured accidents, whatever, or what they do is they do a good job of setting the conditions for things. They take away a few people out of control towers, so there's not enough staff or whatever. Then planes are, you got FedEx planes almost hitting commercial airliners. You got like South Dakota recently, there was a fucking like B-52 that almost hit another airliner. So they set the conditions, but it's 100% for Agenda 2030, keeping people out of the air and afraid to fly and all this stuff, so they don't move around as much because they're eventually going to lock us down. Unfortunately, I hope not. But with Palace here, they're again, you own nothing to be happy. In their Agenda 2030, you're only allotted 1.5 flights per year. And they carbon tax all this shit, but he did a good job. Sam did, because they do want to blame DEI, because then people just say, oh well, it's just DEI. That's what it is. And Trump's going to get rid of that. Everything will be better. It's like, no, they're doing this on purpose, so that people again don't want to book plane tickets, don't want to move around as much. They're scared to do this and that, and it works. They want your fear levels high, like I've talked about a lot of recently, which he hit on as well, which is what they capitalize on. But yeah, there's so much. He's like, everything's a psyop. Like, I'm kind of there. I don't like people pull everything's a psyop, but it's a lot of shit is motherfucking psyop. Once you really realize every Pentagon movie, or every war movie is sponsored by the Pentagon because they want to get people to go die for Israel, why wouldn't they? It makes sense. And then they get to, like you said, in the meantime, make money, demonize people like the quote-unquote Nazis and all this stuff, and then demonize Muslims and say, yeah, see, look, all these, every movie's about a Muslim. What's the other way? American Sniper with Chris Kyle and Bradley Cooper. Another great movie where these Muslims running around left and right. The awesome Americans don't want to kill everybody and all this stuff, but yeah, it's wild.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. You brought up something that caught my interest about the Trump assassination. I really haven't looked into it. I mean, with so many available waking hours and so many Jew problems, you're going to kind of pick and choose them. But you said about the cameraman pointing the camera right in his face with the Secret Service person. That sparked my interest on that, and it also made me think of something else I've never heard. I think did you believe you've seen it, right? I didn't. After the show, you don't even need to awesome.
Because you don't need to listen to it. It doesn't. You don't need to volume. It's only 10 seconds. And you'll see within the first 10 seconds. That is true. That's it. But
thank you. No, thank you. I want to see that. And then I'm sure this had been thought of or brought up. I've never heard in my whole life.
not surprised that was never brought up. I caught that off something you just said about the cameraman. The Secret Service guy would have fuck up with it. And then, for some reason, I'm just thinking JFK getting shot. And we know, even if it was on a fucking tripod, it was moving with his hand, so the kite cannot say, oh, I was on a tripod with this, no. Yeah, like, I mean, he's dancing Israelis in 1963. Anyway, that's my thought.
No, that's why I love these conversations. Just little things like that connect. It's a good point. You know, like you said, again, it's my point. Your point. Bullets are flying. I don't know how Zapruder can sit there and just be perfectly still and not be like, oh shit, like you said, just flinch just a little bit. That's all you need. Because he's farther away. But that's a good point.
And also, Zapruder had like a state of the art video for this time.
Watch it, and you don't even need the volume, but watch it and get back to me in like 50 seconds. It's wild. Then you see, like I said, like the fucking, what you call it, the flag perfectly dipped in the background, right there, right in position. They put the American flag right behind Trump where the people are taking the picture, and that's on like a whatever, it's on a screen. So that doesn't, you can't just lower that right away. You have to time that and everything. And then there's the guy, you'll see what right in your DM stuff there. The guy ushers, some random guy ushers them right in front to take pictures. And again, nobody covered his rallies for like 18 months. Some little minion of Trump ushers this guy. This guy would be fucking on the ground if he wasn't the guy that ushers the cameraman right in front of him. And then he ushers him to the side of the stairwell where Trump's falling, where he's coming up the stairs. They're taking pictures like him. That was like a foot away from his fucking face. And like I said, anyone that knows law enforcement, I've asked law enforcement that I know. I've watched all I do in my spare time is watch law enforcement videos. They do not fuck around it. If you're just an average cop on the street pulling someone over, never mind you're a Secret Service agent who you can see my comment below the thing in front of the desk. I took a screenshot. He's staring right at the people with the cameras. If that is real, that Secret Service agent isn't in it, it's not big, which I do 100% believe it is now. That guy, like I said, is going to say, I will shoot you in the fucking face. Do not get on the ground right fucking now. I will shoot you in the face. Point the guns right at them. If you would say those exact words, you would possibly shoot them. Because a camera can easily have a bullet inside of it that could launch right to Trump's face. And people, MAGA people are coping saying, oh, those cameramen were already cleared by security services, Secret Service. Well, what does it fucking matter? The bullets are flying, the president's getting hit, apparently, which I don't think he did. It does not matter. All bets are off. You're going to get shot in the fucking face, or you're going to get told you're going to get shot in the fucking face. As you're pointing that camera directly at him, feet away, and some little fucking Jew boy basically ushers them all around. Then the flag drops in the background and all that stuff. And then the added thing, looking for Trump's on the ground for like 20 seconds, or like 10 to 15 seconds, which is so sketchy. They easily fucking catch up his ear or something like that. And then they're in the perfect position to catch the flag just in the background as it lowers. Get that iconic shot of Trump saying, fight, 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 666. And the guy who died is Corey Compton's here, of course. There's your 30 years of country, but it's just wild.
Jeez, what you just said about the Trump assassination is the same thing as what Building 7 is to 9/11.
Yeah, and what do you mean? How it's
the smoking gun. I mean, the best right there. I mean, Building 7 is the smoking gun. There's a million of them, but it's the top one. And it shows, whoa, something's going on here. What you just said, fuck yeah. Secret, when everything you point out, Secret Service, whoa. There you go. False flag. So yeah, your point's great. It triggered my point about JFK. So yeah, I mean,
don't get me going on 9/11 because I can't go on it.
Oh God, no.
Well, I just threw in the front of the house again. I don't want to keep throwing stuff in the house, but if you go to the 1 minute and 30 second part of that, again, people don't even need volume. The smoking gun for that, never mind the fact that the fucking 220 stories of towers disappeared, disintegrated into thin air, but if you take it one at a time, 110 stories each, disintegrated into thin air within, I think it's 8.8 seconds that the towers, which is the thickest steel on top of the thickest steel inside the thickest steel, disintegrated into thin air. But the smoking gun by far is was, I believe there was like fucking, either way, there was 110 stories.
It's thermite detonators crisscross.
Or like, I don't know, 20 to 25, 30 stories high. It was only up to the lobby high when that was left over. Like, when you watch the building disintegrate in that video up top, it just, that steel just disintegrating. And that cannot be done by thermite. It obviously cannot be done by planes.
You don't think it was thermite detonators?
But they did something. And also, there's a hurricane I posted about. There was a hurricane off of the fucking coast. It was about to hit New York City, but just before it did, it got pushed out to sea. There's a, it's insane. Like, there was a massive hurricane going directly towards New York City. And then the day of 9/11, right before, or the night before, it takes a hard right and bangs a right towards Nova Scotia because they either use some type of weather modification or some type of energy. But you cannot disintegrate a building into dust without some type of technology. We all know that Dartmouth on them are 40, 50 years ahead of us, and that was one of the first times I used it. And it's a rabbit hole I've been going down a lot more recently because I already knew about it, but it's just fascinating how much it's applied to. And the thing about, like, they say, oh, they have the Israeli, whatever, T-93 or whatever inside the building. Yeah, that actually, from all the research that I've done recently, that is because, and I know it sounds crazy, I wasn't one that believed it, but people said it was Project Movie, it wasn't planes. I know people say they saw it there, but there's been serious evidence that say that the way the plane was coming was going like 500 plus miles an hour, the tail fin was sheared off. And I know it sounds crazy because I wasn't a direct snow planes guy, but I believe there wasn't, where the planes hit was right where those facade people were laying whatever in the elevator shaft before the painters or whatever the hell they were before the towers got hit. And that is basically probably what the hell ever didn't hit the building. The quote unquote planes didn't hit the building. Those bombs went off, and then it looked like the plane hit it, and then of course everyone thinks the planes took it down or bombs hit. But thermite cannot make steel disintegrate into thin air. It's not possible. Never mind, it talks about what else they've done glasses of stadiums or whatever. It has like a Seattle stadium like 10, 20, 30 years ago. Had like a 2.2 in the Richter scale, and that was like a quarter of the weight of the Twin Towers. And when the Twin Towers fell, it was like a 1.1 or something on the Richter scale. It barely even registered. So that doesn't make sense either. Never mind, again, there was cars all around the place that were burnt, like what you call it, like Hawaii and Lahaina and everything. So it's crazy ass shit. I know it is, but it's stuff that needs to be looked into because we've been lied to so much. And there you go. Damn way that a building that 110-story building gets disintegrated with thermite in fucking 8.8 seconds or something like that. And again, the thing on the side, 70 stories tall. The building's already gone. Why does it just disintegrate into dust?
Well, that's the giveaway. The 8 seconds is the free fall speed of gravity. So when you do thermite cuts into a solid steel structure, when you turn it into dust, it falls at the speed of fucking gravity. And same with World Trade Center 7. Office furniture fires literally demolished a solid steel skyscraper. It's the biggest lie and biggest, it's not even a psyop. It's just fucking common sense that World Trade Center 7 was thermite detonated that day. And the World Trade Centers were also most likely thermite detonated.
Yeah, World Trade Center 7 definitely was, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, 100% pulled. You can look at any other controlled demolition, it's the exact same thing.
The other one, though, there's been all fun things, I forget what it is, but if it falls at whatever, like if it was a demolition that wasn't a direct energy weapon through thermite or whatever, there's something about called the pancaking effect where it would take longer to fall and then it wouldn't take 8.8 seconds. I forget what it was, what Judy would have said, but I forget what the review to that is because I want to be sure of what I'm saying. I'll have to look it up again. But World Trade Center 7, yeah, that was obviously, and then that's why they put people in two camps. That's why this revisit 9/11 thing does a good job. Although they're crybabies about Jews having an influence in it, but whatever, I can still take their word for what it is. And Judy was the only person who has never been interviewed. She's got like a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in like 6
different things that are all specialties on this. And World Trade Center 7, yeah, 100% not an office fire. That's insane. I don't know why Ryan Dawson of all people thinks it is that. That's just, I don't even know why they took it down, I think, for other reasons, but that one's obvious. But thermite, 100%, I'll prove it eventually. That's why I'm dive deeper into it so I can know exactly what I'm talking about. It does not make 110 stories of steel disappear into thin air and just go poof and not land on the ground and stack up 30, 40, 50 stories high like it was supposed to. It just sits there. It's just gone. Everything's just gone. Dust. Boom. Then they somehow find the fucking passports somehow. It's just.
Well, don't forget.
Didn't we let China come in and take all that steel?
That's what they say, but that's part of the psyop as well. They say, oh, China came in and took the steel and everything. That's been disproven because they weren't there. They weren't there fast enough. They wouldn't be able to remove all of that steel. And there's guys that were there, firefighters and reporters and stuff. That were there, even sorts of stuff. Not because he was a propagandist, was pushing out a lot of propaganda that day. They were there immediately. They're like, there was nothing there. There was nothing on the ground. There's something too. I forget what it was about desks, toilets, like all these things that should have like been there, or whatever. I think that it's one of the two or three. They should have been there. They weren't there, or the other way. Either way. There's also guys that were in like the stairwells that, if it was the pancake effect, would have been dead. There were like 6 or 8 firefighters that were on different levels of the stairwells, from like level 4 to like level 16 or whatever, or higher. And they said that they just remember it collapsing, and all of a sudden they looked up and thought they were in heaven because they saw blue sky. But then they were like, wait, I'm alive. How the hell am I alive? This fucking tower just fell on top of me. So if it was a demolition, it would have fell on top and it would have killed everybody below it. But the fucking thing, as you can see in the video on top, it just turns to dust in midair. It's just boom, boom, disappears. 100% disappears into thin air. Nothing, no steel. That was the thickest steel in the world. Again, inside of on top of the thickest steel, which is inside of it, and then more steel inside of there. It's absolutely insane, but you know, they had my word. So you guys sit up there and research it. Everyone can research it themselves and look into it. That's where I got it from. It's crazy we've been lied to, but that's where they put us in. Oh, it's planes, this and that, and the Larry Silverstein thing, because he's a Jew. That plays through as well, where he says, yeah, I said pull it. So then everyone rightfully goes to, oh, well, 100%. There was bombs and everything. There was thermite, this and that. And you would need, I forget what they did. You would need like 600 gazillion pounds of thermite to do what happened there. And then you would need it all to go off at one time. And then the firefighters, rightfully so, they said, oh, well, I heard explosions and stuff. But the thing I was watching the other day on it, talking to debunks that, talking about how there's whatever, there's fire extinguishers, there's like toilets and stuff, or bathrooms, there's pressurized tanks and stuff. Because when you see the building falling, there's like windows that are getting shot out before that. And people are saying, well, that's explosions going off early. But no, that's just the pressure.
No, that is part of the controlled demolition.
I heard a first-hand account of someone who was in the building, and when the plane hit, I guess all the impact from the impact of the plane that shot through the elevator shaft was blowing all the freaking elevator doors wide open, and it was like nothing but hot, intense flames coming through with the fuel. And he said that some people that were standing in front of the door of the elevator on that floor were just instantly like lit up, like instantly charred.
Yeah. Don't forget Shanksville, the Pentagon, they're fakes too. Those were rockets.
2 days ago, he said actually the thermite fighter responded to me through the front desk. He said, "This is what's 100 pounds of thermite look like in action look like." And he threw it up in front desk. It's whatever he says. And then Stu had somebody on about it a while ago, I guess, because he's big now. But it's in all these experts, they do it just like the JFK thing and with everything. They make an industry out of it where everybody's an expert. This and that. They get platform, but they don't platform the one woman, Judy Wood. The only person who talks about her once was PBD. He asked a couple people, but they don't platform her. Who's been the one who wrote a book on it called Where the Towers Go, which I've read and did. There was one
2-part documentary, like an hour and a half long documentary. Where did the fucking tower? Where did 220 stories of steel go? It just doesn't make sense. And then this is what I was talking about. So there's 50,000 filing cabinets, 500 toilets and sinks, desk tables, chairs, and computers. I believe all of them just somehow that's what it was. All of them just so 50,000 filing cabinets, 500 toilets and sinks, missing tables, chairs, people, computers. There was paper everywhere, but all that stuff just disappeared. 50,000 file cabinets, never mind vending machines, all this stuff. So if that was an explosion from thermite or whatever, or in a controlled demolition, then there would be pieces of toilets, pieces of porcelain toilets, pieces of filing cabinets, pieces of vending machines all over the place. But everything just literally fucking disappeared into thin air. And again, the real smoking gun is that thing is like a minute 25. The 70-story tall thing that is still standing after one of the towers falls, and it somehow just fucking literally turns to dust in midair. It should tip over and take out like the whole block around it, but it just goes bye-bye out of nowhere. The amount of stuff that was in there.
But Keith, it's a picture perfect replica of a controlled demolition. Haven't you seen how buildings go down? They don't fall over, they literally pancake, and that's what happened.
Keith, there's something else. Go ahead. I recall that day. Now, what you said, everyone looked at that. They call it the spear, whatever. It's as Keith says, 1,000-foot pole. Now, look at, and the kite doesn't show this. I recall vividly on the day of 9/11, the South Tower, the first one to fall. When it fell, it initially tipped. How the fucking pancake? What did it tip back? And pancake. So everyone take a look at the South Tower when it so-called collapsed with that direct energy weapon. It tipped to the left. And when I say the top with the so-called plane, I'm not going to get into it, wherever the explosion was, everything above that tipped to the left. And then it turned into dust. So you're going to say, symmetry on the tilt? Yeah. So it's the same fucking thing as Keith is pointing out, not as visible as what Keith points out with the spear, much more visible. But there you go. There's a spear, same thing. I mean, you're talking about 30 fucking, or maybe 40 stories of the top 40 stories of the towers coming down, as opposed to the North Tower, which the direct energy weapon worked better. It came down symmetrically, better appearance. And I knew something was funny, even though it was I saw a lot. I'm not going to get into that now. The South Tower, though, take a look at that, Keith. And it is exactly what you describe as that 1,000-foot pole. It tilts to the left and just, we're talking 40 stories, just symmetrically tilts back to its original position and symmetrically comes down like the North Tower.
I know you're right. First, it worked well and went down perfectly. The second one at the top, like you said, the top 40 stories just tilted off to the side. So it should have kept going that way, but then it just all of a sudden everything below it just disappears into fucking thin air. And then there's a bunch of things in the redneck in the front that I heard download. This guy does a good job, really good job. I love to revisit because they do. That's how they get everybody in every psyop. They get everybody into it was a plane or it was a demolition from thermite and stuff, and then they get the Jew Lucky Larry Silverstein to go and say, yeah, we pulled it, and we decided to pull it, which then adds to the 100% thermite. And I believe, I'm sure there's probably thermite added, but where the T-93 or whatever the hell those Jews were called, those art people or whatever the hell they were, putting bombs inside of the elevator shaft or whatever, that's exactly where the fucking plane's hit. Exactly where it hit. Even the plane doesn't make sense either. It literally goes inside and like the nose comes out the other side. It makes no sense at all. It's strong enough out to them.
I'm just going to say this, I've done 2 decades of research. In my opinion, without a doubt, they were CGI. I mean, a plane doesn't go through a building like Wile E. Coyote goes to a fucking mountain on Bugs Bunny. I don't mean to be funny, but it was CGI all the way.
only do a spacewalk. I do space almost every day, but I'll definitely do an island space and invite some of the specialists I interviewed last year. Dan Henley's a captain, and also Richard Gage as well. He's the head of the Architects and Engineers Association, so he can relitigate all the stuff. There's also another guy that went through the phone calls that were bogus as well, so lots of evidence. But yeah, it's clearly a psyop. I've got all the evidence in that direction. It's gone over a million years. The evidence speaks for itself, man. Advanced X-rays at the right place at the right time. We know the 10 inch solved. Said so. This is the FC process at 17. Mark Jeffries connection. Late. Definitely check out the space from the beginning. It's worthwhile. Mark Jeffries, of course, was the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch. Between around 92 until 2014, he was running a shopping operation under, of course, distributed at 8 plus Flex, the company. Jeff Epstein is also overseeing the efficiency at POA and full financial authority as the trusted financial advisor to, of course, Las Vegas. Yeah, this went on for, they say, from 2008 to 15, but I think it was running longer. Then Jeffries, of course, retired. They got arrested in 2023, 2024, two separate cases. He argued one big charge, and now he's got dementia/Alzheimer's. May not be mentally fit to stand trial, though he's produced hundreds of stories in this case, but no one seems to care because, well, it's not girls or minorities that got abused, it's no white men. So, always, overlooked. So that's why I hope racist issues since, well, it's, Jews are involved in secret trafficking cases, whether it's like Jeffries or Las Vegas, it's financing or Jeff Epstein. Get a lot of attention, so it's the attention that it deserves.
Well, it's the boys do get all the money, unfortunately. Nobody else.
There are a bunch of gay boys, some of them, not for that lifestyle, but still, you know, fuck the work. You find heterosexual abuse as well. So, yeah, go, happy Nancy, you got a hand up saying is anything else?
Someone was talking about the CGI plane going to the building. That's an interesting one because I just wanted to comment on that. When I was 11 years old when that whole thing happened, and I remember playing the video over and over. I was watching the whole thing over and over. I remember being a kid and looking at it and thinking, this is strange. It's almost like the plane is phasing through the tower. And at 11, 12 years old, I thought it looks fake. Like, this doesn't look the way the colliding pieces of metal would act. And so for years, it was just a private thought to myself. I think that it was either edited in the video or it was a projection or something was going on. And it wasn't until, now I'm 35, it wasn't until recently that I found out there was a common theory that people put, which to me is just an affirmation of my instinct. And I think, yeah, like this, clearly that was a fake thing that we saw. And now that we actually have detected the fake even better, well, it's too late. The old video has been circulated.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to find a thing I saw that I was watching a couple days ago where it shows there's also a bunch of anomalies too, where it shows that there's like the weird UFO, like the most thing, and I 100% not out of the UFO ever, but there's part of the there's a bunch of random on the right thing trying to find the thing. It just pops up like some little thing, some discrepancy, so to say, pops up. It's like William said, the planes, like there's pictures, there's memes of the plane, like it says 9/11, whatever, hitting the steel building and somehow cuts through the whole thing like butter. But it's like a plane hits, a bird hits the front of the plane, and the whole fucking front of the plane is like tipped up and everything. And then they've done the metrics on it, like the plane was coming in at whatever angle at like 562 miles per hour, something like that. And at that angle, the tail fin would have sheared sheared off, and it wouldn't have made it. And also, and then it's like where do people go? I don't know. That one's a mystery for now. Then there's Shanksville too with the plane. They allegedly took over the plane, all that stuff, blah blah blah. But there's no debris there, and even there's just so much. I wasn't a guy, like I said. That's why I was kind of invested in it. What I wasn't a guy that believed it for a while. Like, no, there was planes, people have seen it, but I truly believe anyone that saw it on the ground saw Project Bluebeam, which we all know they have. I mean, there was something the other day actually that I retweeted that they've been working on, the government's been working on for decades, called the Face of Allah or something like that, where they want to try to project like the face of Allah into the sky when they're fighting Muslims. So then they'll be like, holy shit, let's not fight anymore because they're seeing something. And we know the technology they have, and it just, again, it doesn't make sense that a plane would just somehow fucking slice through the thing and then it goes through the other side of it. But I get when people have a very hard time, because I myself did for a while. Like, no fucking way, we see the videos, we see the planes. But again, the technology that we have is out of control. It really is. It's terrifying.
I was there, and I saw the plane hit, but I was in Hoboken, and a phone call came in prior to the plane hitting and said, it was a driver saying, why is there a plane going down 7th Avenue? So, there's that. And so we were looking at the building, waiting for people to heading towards the tower. So I don't know. But I do know that the driver saw that.
I found the same screen
and recreated that exact simulation that that flight trajectory that took place that's supposed to destroy the tower, the second one. And no pilots ever claimed they could ever carry out that trajectory themselves. They said it was physically impossible. It's just way too risky, especially given the altitude and speed that type of impact. They said impossible, there's no way. So I've always had flights were carried.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't say about myself, but I love that I can change my mind. I was, for a while, that's why I open-minded to everything. I was, because it's like, fucking my grandmother was there, I was like, Tisha and other people said they saw it, but it can't be fucking Project Bluebeam. 100% can't. I found the thing. It's up in the front of the nest. You fast forward to 3 minutes and 10 seconds, it shows the history points, whatever the hell it is. It shows the UFO thing we're talking about, this discrepancy that pops out from when the thing comes to the right. And the second plane was set right here. It was supposed to be going 587 miles per hour. Lake Crew said there was a bunch of pilots that tried to reenact it. They were asked about it. They were all like, yeah, you couldn't direct that plane into the building like that. And at the angle that it's coming in, the tail thing would have sheared off at how fast it was coming in. But again, I get it. I know it sounds crazy. Do your research, look at the thing that I'm talking about up in the nests, do whatever, look through that. I just know that they lie to us, and I know that they love to sit here and say there's, the plane took it down, and there was planes 100%. You're a crazy maniac. I don't think there was. Again, I was on the board with that. Or it was, we pulled it, and what's Larry Silverstein says we pulled it, which just adds to it. Like firefighters just walking around with bunches of sticks of dynamite or whatever. They would have to have so much dynamite on it. And the thing that's 4 back to the nest, it shows, or 4 or 5 back to the nest, it shows, like I said, below it, what thermite actually does, and it doesn't do what the hell the building did, where it just fucking disappears there. People are asking, right? So, like, why didn't it just,
Greg says it would take 26 million pounds of thermite to detonate each building. 26 million pounds of thermite.
And he can put it all in Ziploc bags as powder.
So you got the EP, right? The Israeli arms needed to access the building months prior. Everyone knows the EP, right? The EP had access.
Yeah, they didn't have the thing. The Israeli students.
They don't have any building. They just have to put it in necessary places in order to create a
installing in the elevator shafts.
Exactly, yeah. So they had access to the technology.
pilot. You got to think about the pilot now. The hijackers. These people were trained in Florida. These people were like CIA assets. So at the very end, is CIA assets. At the very end, and then you have the very first victim I put in the next. His name is Daniel Lee. He's an Israeli ex-commando, ex-IDF, founder of a fucking tech company, which is still actually mine. His name's Daniel Lee. But his company basically helped create the idea of hashing the internet. Like, they control data over the internet. And this guy, died in an attack on the plane. He just disappeared off the face of the earth in the attacks. And they say he was a very first victim of 9/11. An IDF commando with special forces in the military. What are the odds of that? Couple that with the military soldiers. Couple that with the Israelis. Couple that with the saying, hey, this is what happens in Israel every day. Wow, smile. You couple that with the fact that 9/11 was right. You couple that with the fact that these people countries that Israel was an adversary and invade Pakistan. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
Look, I have something really big. May I? Which I forgot.
Yeah. No,
This is really big. I forgot about this. I wanted to
really dying things. Psyops, they want us to feel that.
I read this on the internet once, documented this about 15 years ago, truth might go, here it is. I read the mastermind of 9/11, Mossad person, when he found out about it, was in Singapore with his son. When he heard the tap, when it was quote unquote successful, he had a bottle of red wine that he toasted with. Has anyone ever heard that?
Yes, I heard that.
I used to know his name, at least what his credit. He was a top Mossad guy. He and his son, allegedly were in Singapore at the time of 9/11 during the attack. When they heard it was successful, this Mossad agent, I wish I recall his name, ordered a bottle of red wine, made a toast, and his freaking son was there too. This is what I read. I'd like to hear any thoughts. That's it.
Please, I've never heard of this. I've read a lot about it. There's a building down in Roseville on September 10th announcing that it's the very next day. How that had now think about this, right? You were on the Pentagon. Yeah. Right. Now, they say it was Bin Laden was a CIA asset. He wasn't even a real fucking person. Okay? The only reason that they captured Bin Laden in the plane's compound was to put a cap on it, basically saying, oh, but in reality, Bin Laden's not a real person. He's a boogeyman, okay? You gotta look at Larry Silverstein is a merchant in this situation. He just gave me a little bit of money. He's the one that helped set it up. He's not the mastermind. Look at how Israel was founded. It was founded on terrorists. It was founded with the Lehigh. It was literally founded on terrorism. And they used it. They were the originators of domestic terrorism. They created it. They were so bad. You're going to make it illegal because you're blowing up buildings. And then they want Europeans to do this. Like it was a big part of the Irish Civil War, but England, like it didn't go away. Even experts had been active in terrorism. And you could say what happened in 9/11 is very simple. It wasn't happening. say like, hey, there was something fishy going on. We know what happened. It was infiltrated. So any kind of like concept that aliens, I'm sorry, the only good explanation of aliens for 9/11 is the fact that these aliens have access to technology that we don't have access to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying. I'm saying there's a discrepancy that looks like a UFO and something that I threw up there. Like when you go, it's one of those drones that can run this bookmark it. And again, do your research yourself. Leave me there. And I agree with everything. I agree. That's why like this 9/11 incident. Let's try to get one agency responded to someone like 10 minutes ago. I think he still happened. So not like 10 minutes ago. And he does a good job. Like he does his whole. I think it's like it's the Jews or whatever. It's like no, obviously it fucking is. Yeah, I mean our government was in it, CIA was in it as well. They fucking like I tell the time we vote them. They benefited. They most by far they got the whole Cold War terror after that, and then they got to wipe out Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld got to wipe out $2.3 trillion worth of fucking money. And like Glenn was talking about before, going United, my guy, wild the day before the quote unquote plane hit the Pentagon was obviously not that South State, that was obviously a missile. The day before they shut off the fucking surface and air missiles, the air defense, because they were for routine maintenance. So that like it could have been a plane, it could have been a missile, and if it wasn't a missile, it would be like Photoshop ability that we've had since like the early 80s. It's very easy to go back and solve the problems on TV. Like the way of stuff was on the news, they were able to have fun and not through some footage. Like it wouldn't take that long for parts to unload it as crazy. You know, like smash on it just fun. And again, the stuff that we have access to now, they probably had access to the fucking 90s. Like, so, yeah. I mean, look at their 40 years ahead. It's very obvious. Yeah, dude, those are crazy. No, I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. That's why I think that's why my only thing that is a psyop and they can never know what it is. That's why I think they say the first one to die that day was the Jew or really whatever. Because that gives more sympathy for them. Yeah, exactly. But also real quick, I threw back in the nest because that's what I was trying to explain before. And this is something I just looked at the other day. This kid actually just responded to 2 seconds ago to the 9/11 revisiting guy. Just responded because the explosions going out the windows or whatever. Firefighters carry these things that was reached up called Scott tags, which are the pressurized things on the back, and that's what the explanation seems to be for all those windows that are blowing out before like the building pancakes on top of itself. Because and again, there's like things inside the bathroom or whatever. But real quick, I want to read off the thing. It's only like one paragraph. It says this where it's just there's so much shit inside. Each tower had 110 floors, 1 acre each. Office equipment, furniture, machinery, toilets, etc. Most of the contents of the towers were never found. So like that's what's absolutely insane. I don't know how the hell none of that does. As you can see, the towers did not collapse in on themselves. They peeled open like bananas. That's what I was trying to explain earlier. I forgot the way that I explained it. They peeled open like bananas, which they did. They just fucking peeled open and disintegrated. So it wasn't a straight up demolition like Tower 7, which that was. They peeled open like bananas. So there was no quote pile driver, which is what we were talking about earlier. It was thermite and it was a collapse on top of each other. It would go down like a pile driver, but it wasn't just peeled open to crush everything to dust. Parentheses, they say, which wouldn't happen anyways. The contents should have just dropped to the ground where it still should have been recognizable, even if broken up into pieces, smashed up. Most of it was never recovered. Again, 50,000 toilets, 50,000 things, a couple 3,000, 4,000 toilets, vending machines, everything just disappeared anywhere. Why do you not see 3,000 porcelain toilets like it says? Desks, computers, vending machines, doors, staircases, catering equipment, chairs, tables, filing cabinets, etc., scattered all over the place. And so there's that again. Like William said, smoking gun is that thing on the side is still standing up and goes boom. And the fact that 220 stories of steel just turned into a lobby, like 2 stories full of steel. If you want to look at all the stuff in the process right now, that's the same fucking strategy. It's
and the aristocrats in the United States made money. But it was not for the benefit of the public. It was not for the benefit of the youth that went to war. It was not for the benefit of the first responders. In a great way, to stabilize the country our own is to kill a bunch of strong men, responders, and set an example like this is what's going to happen if you don't comply. So whether it's working like submitting to it, you know, or it was like the majors that exploded, like and the honest with you, the majors that don't come and said, hey, here you go, have this is your fucking shelter. It's a threat. It's either a threat or a complaint. Either way, it's intimidation. So no matter which way you slice it, look at better, look at the tactics that go to any last resort.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess like one of the benefits, yeah, obviously Israel did. I totally agree. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, that's why, like we both just said, them being the quote unquote victims of the first person dying, and then the black box thing, it makes more sense now when you say that there wasn't planes. Like Church was talking about people trying to race to simulate it, and the plane couldn't have gone in at that 1 mile per hour and that without the resulting shearing off and many other things. Everyone goes through the whole thing. But I get it. Again, people who don't believe me, you can go to the decimal mark those things and do your own research, go on that thing, because that's what I did, and then I changed my opinion on it once I saw more stuff, and I said, oh yeah, shit, this actually makes a lot more sense. One thing I never thought, why would anyone talk to this Judy Wood? That's what's really wild. Like, she's literally asked so many people, like, hey, we have me on your podcast, like, so many, like, they'll have everybody else on, besides her, the only one that said, we're going to talk to the towers, you know, they literally just disappeared.
Would you be willing to interview them?
Absolutely, yeah. Like,
you should have said that on.
I know, the only problem is this guy 9/11 reason that happens to he's got his DMs up. I don't know if you know that the person knows, but I don't even know. I don't know how I get in contact with him, but absolutely.
I haven't. I'm also thinking about this one too. But so I have one last thing on I never thought about. Just talking out loud, thinking out loud. You got to think about this, right? If I was going to infiltrate the World Trade Center and try to bomb it, which they already did, right? Like before, wait. Before they did this happened, okay? Now, if I was going to try to do something, don't you think somebody would call the police? If there was something suspicious going on in a major metropolitan city in the world like New York City, it's awesome.
They just replaced the elevator companies. They used the elevator instead of motors in 1991. That's how they used their own text field and installed the dynamite. It's not a mystery.
So no, here's what I'm saying. If somebody saw something suspicious, they probably would have been report, called the cops, had security footage, and you gotta think who would have been the first responders who responded to that issue? Who would have been the most like ever? Like, wait a second. There was a lot of suspicious behavior. So like kill a couple thousand responders in the area, it kind of covers your tracks. You know, like anybody would have known something suspicious was happening. It probably would have been the fire.
You know, the FBI. All right, guys, look. You can't tell me these months are a bit weak because it's made all the strong points. Anyways, I'll set up the speech for 9/11. We'll bring some of the experts. Everybody agreed to get 9/11 to death at the time's over. So we'll do the proper okay. But I do want to shut down the space. It's about like 1.5 hour past. I want to shut down. Anyway, I want to thank Keith and John for hosting the space, along with all the speakers for their contributions. Thank you for the super chats as well. Appreciate it all, and definitely check out the Mike Jeffries. Better understanding of the Epstein files, along with Russ Webster's distributed both to Mike Jeffries, Epstein himself, and Tower Ludwig as well. He's the true financier.
I guess I'll use those interest first and come by, space up, see if maybe we should go to by ASAP possibly. But thank you, I appreciate it.
Oh, good. Anyway, guys, all the best. God bless. And get some rest. Thank you.
Adios.